I did it.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. Well, hello everybody. Obviously, we have a very special guest. Very last minute, Corey messaged me and asked if he could join us, and obviously, yes. So, welcome.
I mean, I fine, whatever. It's like it's cool. It's
To be
whatever.
fair, I did say if you have no co-host this week, I will jump in if it's not too stressful. So I did not crash your co-hostness, Eric.
Yes, I did offer to bail and be like, if he just wants to be in stream with you, I'll go.
No.
Hell no.
No.
I don't want to step in the way of this relationship. I'll go.
Nope.
At least I warned you ahead of time.
Yes,
Like,
and thank
don't-
you
don't
so
freak
much.
out.
So Corey didn't come in and just be like, just.
Hey, it's that ACO guy.
I did see you had one person in the chat earlier that didn't have a membership. And that makes two now. I think Jim's Fish is the second one, but it's possible.
Explain this. You explain it. You talk to YouTube people.
I haven't talked to them about this yet. They basically take from November to February off. So like, oh, there's holidays, and so that whole team. It's always every time I send an email, it's like, oh, out of office for eternity, and it's like, oh, good, yeah, great. So, yeah, my partner manager, all those people. It's and then the part is only the people that are super nerdy in those teams know anything. And so it's a chain of like 5 people deep before you get to someone like, oh, yeah, that's how it works. Like, oh, yeah, I know that. Okay, thanks. That glad we roped in half of YouTube to get to the point where the guy that knows anything is like, yeah, that's how it is. Oh, okay.
Like someone who knows the algorithm or how things work over there.
Yeah.
Well, in theory, you go and click accept gifts, but for sure. So my wife has received membership gifts for streams that she lurked in one time and never subscribed to.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've been gifted memberships in the last couple of weeks where like 2 of them will go through, and then 24 hours later, the other ones will go through. So it's all over the place.
I think they're doing a lot of testing actually, and I was actually listening to a different thing today about Twitch Prime subscriptions and everything, and now basically it's a horrible business model, and everybody's scrambling to figure out. Basically, when too many free things are given away, people are disincentivized to actually subscribe. They're like, oh, if I just wait long enough, I'll get it for free, and so it's actually worse for YouTube and Twitch to have that mechanism. And so I'm not shocked at all that I'm pretty sure I believe that you can win once and that's it. Like, yep, here's your sample. It's kind of like you're at Costco and you're like, here's your sample. You can't just camp it and be like, now I don't have to buy food anymore. It's great.
I remember growing up on Sundays after church, we would go, a family of 5, we would go to Sam's, which is basically like Costco, and we would basically have lunch, just making the rounds at all the sample carts.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, that was me. Now I end up just spending way too much money. I end up buying Indian food last time I was there because I tried that, and then they see me coming. So.
Oh, so Candy didn't even know you were joining us tonight.
No, I was incognito. My own wife didn't know until I was like, yeah, I might be on a live stream in like 11 minutes. She's like, what? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, you still gonna live stream on Sunday? I'm like, yeah, probably.
Doing a lot of streaming lately.
Yeah, well, I just mostly I do other people's streams, trying to get away from my own stream. Of like my own stream, I have to go to work. Like, hey, what's the plan? I gotta promote these products. Gotta do a thing. And then in other people's stream, I just have to show up, and that's a lot easier to like, hey, I'm gonna go hang out over here and see what happens, as opposed to if my show is terrible, that's all on me. And it's my show's never terrible. It's just if I say the wrong thing, it's like I got to eat it for the next week and a half because people will be watching and podcasts and customer service. And so, like, one mistake, you get to relive it a bunch. And that gets old pretty quick.
Yeah.
Do you have your own reaction podcast, like people who make a living off reacting to your streams?
No, not yet. I almost did my first React content though. I've got the green light to do it with Katie Tropical's content. I actually kind of want to do it, but I also don't want to like
Rip them
start
apart.
the. Well, no, it's not so much that. It's
No.
start the whole like it will do well if it well. I think it would do well, and then the fans will want more of it, and that's not really the content I want to do because it's the internet in general, it's way easier to make people laugh at the expense of others and things like that than it is to do it without that. And then you get all the people that side with that and they will love it. And then you get the people that won't love it. But it I don't know. It's a dangerous hole to go down. And then sometimes you don't find your way back out soon enough. And yeah.
I would agree. It can go from like constructive criticism or just like your 2 cents on the topic to becoming kind of mean spirited, especially if like there's a live chat going on at the same time, or it gets nasty in the comments and like you don't intend for it to go that direction, but it always does.
Yeah, and sometimes you just walk into it. Like I know Father Fish and I basically had that happen where he was still running his store and he asked for some help, and like some ideas, and he took them the opposite way I meant them, and now we're like random mortal enemies, even though we've never met each other. And that probably people are gonna take that serious. We're not mortal enemies at all, except he thinks it's ridiculous that I would try to sell fish food to people that keep aquariums, and he only wants to do a natural food method, which that's fine, but that won't keep your store alive. Like if you don't sell things, your store won't exist. That's just how commerce goes. So that was kind of the big difference in ideology there of like, I'm okay with needing to sell something to move forward. He's more holistic in that approach. And it's like, well, that's a path I've never been able to forge. So good luck. And I can't help you with that. So, yeah.
Who would have thought among these nerds who keep some fish in some glass boxes that there would be mortal enemies? Just
well, and that's like, the funny part is that's what killed my my business channel. It was after that I was like, I'm just not talking business anymore, like as a fun side project thing, because I'm like it always bleeds over. And then my team of people, because there's 30 people that rely on me to pay their paychecks, are like, could you not talk about things? It's like, but if I don't live stream, also you're like, could you get back on there and live stream all the time for us? Like it's doesn't go both ways. You're like, I either got to be on or I'm not on. Pick one.
Don't put me in a box. No, just fish.
Yep. If they ask you something else, just don't answer. Like even if 50 people, like kind of, maybe. Yeah.
I mean, I do enjoy the business talk. It's interesting to me, even though I have no aspirations to ever run a business, and just like the thought of it kind of makes me nauseous. But like just hearing about other people struggling with it.
I think my hope is that it sheds a little bit of light into like, the eternal question of, I want to open up a fish store. I'll carry all the stuff other people don't. They're so dumb. I would carry all the rare things. And it's like, there's thousands of fish stores with very smart people running them, and we're not doing that. And the answer is because it doesn't make money. Like I could have every rare rainbow behind me, and typically fun. What happens is people go, wow, you have 200 different ones. I'm looking for the one you don't have. And it's like, that's great. I'll go out of business. And you see that happen all the time with African cichlids, different collection points. It's like, wow, you have 2 of the collection points here. I'm really looking for a third one that no one bothers to carry. And it's like, wow, I can't please anybody with that model, and nobody can. And so that's why it gets that way.
I think that's what happened with Dan, because he used to have a pretty broad collection of rainbows, but the rainbow fad, I guess, kind of runs its course because, for one thing, they live a long time. They're very hardy. And secondly, like, you can't just get a 20 long and get some melanitania. Like, it requires a commitment. You have to have a pretty sizable tank to keep those. So it's very specific audience or customer base for those.
I think Dan in particular runs into a problem of one is competing with everybody on the internet. So that's not just a local region. So there's always like, well, what if tomorrow one of 10,000 vendors gets this collection point of rainbow I'm looking for, even though Dan has the other collection point? And then with rare stuff comes high prices. And so maybe you're looking for Tor River or you're looking for something and it's $40 a rainbow. And that's enough to be like, yeah, I'm not spending $40 a rainbow unless the exact collection point I want. And so they just don't buy. And you don't get people going, you know, like the average person that wants a Basmati rainbow doesn't care the collection point or anything like that. They just buy a Basmati rainbow and it's $13 and they're happy. They don't spend $35 on average. So that becomes a collector, and the collector is very picky. And, you know, someone like Dan, I would imagine he's bogged down in some of that. You make this buy, and you're like, oh, sweet.
Yeah.
You know, like those corridors are $500 a piece, and those are sweet. And I'm just like, who on this planet is going to spend $3,000 on a colony of 6 corridors? I would like to talk to that person and be like, who is this customer?
I have a bridge to sell to you.
There are people. The craziest part when you're in business, there's thousands of those customers. Like you don't know that, like, you know, we have customers like, oh, you're a brain surgeon. Money is no object, you know, and they don't even know what they want. They're just like, oh, I don't know. When I see it, I buy it. And so I believe there are customers out there. And that's why I want to meet them of like, who's buying $3,000 with a corridoras? Because it ain't me. And if anybody should be, it's like me or Dean or someone's going to breed them, but it'll end up just being like, oh no, it's this random football player or baseball player, someone random. And we forget
they just see the price on it and they think, yeah, it's fancy and rare. So therefore, and I can afford it. I have a lot of money to burn.
Yeah. It won't be hobbyist that buys it. It'll buy, I mean, everyone's a hobbyist, I think, but it'll be just someone that's like, oh, I'll just buy that. I keep fish. I like that. And not someone who's been pining after it, most likely.
I mean, I saw the trio, the $300 trio of swordtails, and I'm wondering like who the heck is buying that? And somebody is. He still.
To be fair, I've almost bought them like 3 times. It's the $150 pair actually of the Alpha Reds that I have almost pulled the trigger on 3 times, and his own website is killing him because I won't buy. And I tell him this because the smallest box still has 60% open shipping, and it's like, oh, it's so much. I don't want to. And so I can't find any other fish to fill it. And so I'm just not placing the order. So
I find the fish. I always, every time I order something, I'm like, I got to fill the rest of the box.
Well, that's my mentality, but I have so much of the stuff. I'm like, oh, I don't have room for that. I don't want that. I own this. I have that from you already. And so, yeah, if you had a smaller box size or something, then they'd probably already be on the way. The other thing was, Thanksgiving got in the way. I almost bought them before Thanksgiving. Like, well, not shipping till the 2nd. Like, well, now I can make a decision on the 2nd. Then I ran into that problem. Here we are on the 6th, and I still haven't paid the money for them, which I should because I want to support him. But I also
and somebody's got to make them. Somebody's got to make them cheaper too. I know he wants that.
That literally is my plan. Almost always is I can be the guy that can crowdsource, take everybody's like membership money, buy the stupid expensive fish, make some more. And then people can enjoy good lineage at a much cheaper price if I don't screw that up. So that's why you know I don't think $3,000 corridors, even if I was to crowdsource all the money to do it, makes sense. I also don't believe almost any fish should cost that much. So there is that. But I also think all fish are underpriced because they're animals that we could keep in a glass box. But there are definitely breeders I've met, and I've been, you know, I've filmed them and stuff where they literally like, oh, I can make thousands of these, but I can only sell 20 a year at $500 a piece. So I only sell 20. And it's like, that just seems like the opposite of what this hobby is. But what do I know?
Get them into the hobby.
that kills their income. They're looking at it from income standpoint, not from a hobby standpoint.
Yeah. That's where I'm looking at zebra plecos, like from a hobby standpoint, where I really want to get a colony and breed them and sell them for $25 each.
Yeah.
Just get them out there. But then again, one of the price points is they're a high care animal that requires specific conditions. So if you just start to sell them like common plecos and throw them into a regular aquarium, they're probably not going to make it. Or
I do wonder about that. My only fish store boss, he told me a lot about him. He used to breed them a ton. And, you know, back before they were banned from export and everything, he said, like, yeah, we routinely sold them $25 a piece. We would breed them in the store and all of that. And he wasn't a particularly well-read man, but he was good at breeding fish and stuff. And I really wonder, with so many species, it's a chicken and the egg thing of like, if everybody was spawning zebra plecos, would they just be a lot hardier? And that's kind of what happens to a lot of shrimp and some of these other species, where it's like the more people are doing it, the more they're subjected to, the easier they are to keep, where the fewer people that are doing it. And, you know, like zebra plecos being so expensive, it's like Cardinia shrimp and stuff. Some of those high-end things, they're kept so sterile that they can't survive outside of the breeder's home, essentially.
And that's what freaks me out about getting into any of that high-end stuff is like
Bubble boy.
I'm way too much of I'm pretty good at keeping fish healthy. If I get a healthy fish, I can keep it healthy. I'm not going to let a tank go to crap. But yeah, the ones that just require that those exact parameters, that sterile tank, I don't keep sterile tanks. Even my high-end CO2 injected tanks are not all that clean, to be honest. So I wanted to say thanks to Fathom Aquatics Alex for gifting 10 memberships, and he said hopefully that'll clear up some of the gray names, and I think it went to maybe 2 people who were actually in chat.
Nice.
Yay.
So
well, maybe there might be some new people. I shared it, so maybe opt in if you want a free membership. You're on the short list. The list is at -8, so pretty much opt in.
Guaranteed.
And then thanks Peplin for the $2 super chat. Once it says Eric has a question about ferns for Corey.
I am just getting clowned in the comments because just clowned in the comments because I am known for interrupting people. So I'm sorry. But I'm obsessed with your yard. Your new yard is amazing. I love the pond. I love that you, as a bird watcher, I am all about planting native species, and you were planting a bunch of native species because it's all about the bugs. Bugs bring in the birds, and the bald eagle hunting in your pond. It's just amazing. But have you been able to focus any attention on your yard this year?
Only a little bit. So I typically task my wife with it. So I go, hey, you know, it'd be cool. And then I try to prod her to get her to work on it because people in our area are terrible about landscaping and calling back and then doing anything. But yeah, so we do small things, as in like little time, but big projects. And she spends her time basically just saying, no, he's serious. So like when I said I want 600 ferns, they ordered like, I don't know, 20 ferns, and she had to come back like, no, he's serious, 600 ferns. Like, we want ferns lining everything. And they were just like, I don't think we can even get that many. And I was like, well, you need to see how many you can get, because that's what I want.
Scale up.
Yeah. And so they were like, oh, this became a different thing. But, this year we planted a lot more. So last year at the end of the year, we kind of tarped some stuff off to kill it, which was just normal grass. And the windstorms kind of kept blowing around, and we didn't have time to plant basically true natives. And so what we did is we covered it with clover. That looks awesome right now.
Yeah.
And getting a lot more like native newts and that kind of stuff kind of hanging out in there because it's creating a dense cover for it. And then I'm playing with for the past 2 years, we were like, oh, it's all native all the time. And then I got offered something where I'm like, I can't pass this up. And so we brought a non-native, and it's just one plant so far. And it's a banana plant basically that can live in my climate. And so it grows up to about 16 feet tall, will actually produce bananas and all of that. But if it freezes too hard, it could actually die off. So I actually bought a little greenhouse, and I got a little greenhouse on it, and I put that up probably last week. And but I got it from a friend at the store that's been supporting us for a long time. He grows them locally around his koi pond, and so I like that. We're kind of growing in our front yard, but eventually we'll put it somewhere where it can. Maybe it's around my pond or something. But kind of just enjoying nature, and while it's now it's 99% natives, bringing natives in. Got to have some fun too. Of like, well,
exactly.
Because I do love watching like our apples, they fall down and then the birds and bugs and stuff are eating them. And so like one of our goals with all the native planting is to get more stuff that bears fruit, just because it brings more stuff in, even though the birds, just
Yep.
like you plant a cherry tree and now you get red bird poop all the time on your stuff, but it's still fun. So
cover your furniture, yeah.
Well, stuff happening in chat, like so much happening in chat. So there's been some more super chats, just clowning on Eric a little bit more. So we've so Matt said Eric, and then nobody wants filler empty bags, do they, Eric? And then Keystone Clash here would like to know, Corey, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Oh, I am quite a sandwich feed. Corey, when's the last time you had a fried bologna sandwich?
I think that's actually the last time I was in Kentucky. Like, we will make them at home occasionally, but I haven't had any while I'm at home. But Kentucky has real bologna fried sandwiches. Like, none of this like Oscar Mayer. It was like, whoa, it melts in your mouth. So, which I had never experienced. I love the bad version my whole life, and didn't realize like, oh, I was eating garbage here, and apparently it goes up from here. I was already thinking I was like,
So I grew up eating garbage bologna, and now I don't like bologna. But yeah, I haven't had the fancy bologna. Didn't know that existed. It's
kind of a different beast. You wouldn't think, because you're just like, kind of like with hot dogs too. It's, there's what is it, Bar S hot dogs that are terrible, and then there's like
those the red ones.
Yeah, pretty much. Like
come in the pack of 1,000.
Yeah, but and then there's like, oh, these are like made in a butcher shop, legit. Like this is real nice. Yeah.
Those are Frankfurters. They deserve the full name.
Yeah. Yeah, but I would classify it as sandwich, yes.
It's between two pieces of bread.
Yeah.
Works for me. Then Jody P gifting 20 memberships because she is an insane woman.
We got. I don't know if
all 20 went through. And then Matt again with the $5 super chat. You're getting clowned, Eric, because you were being so silent around your idol.
Stop it! He's right here. Well, how dare I show him respect? How dare I?
That's right.
Candy said that she put a note on Eric's account for stalking. Just a big red flag.
Woo! Woo! And the warehouse shuts down. Everybody hide!
Were you listening last Friday when Eric described the first time he saw you in person?
No.
Oh, God.
No.
Do you remember?
It sounds like I'm thankful that didn't happen.
Yeah, because in Chicago, Aquashella 2023? Was it 2023 or 2021? I don't remember. Or
it's all blurred to me.
It was
Dean
22.
Was there. Dean and Zenzo were there, and you were handing out the cooler bags. And I was there in my Rico leggings with I don't know if I had an Aquarium Co-op shirt or if I had Rico shirt on, but Aquarium Co-op hat, and then the green socks like pulled up way high. And I talked to Zenzo, and then my son was sick and he was begging for me to come home. So I was super emotional, and then I didn't want to get emotional on you. So I was like, I won't talk to Corey. I'll see him another time. It's no big deal. So a little bit later, I'm like, okay, I got to go to the bathroom. So I go in the bathroom and I walk in and almost run into you like face to face. Like Dean's like washing his hands and whatnot. I'm like, bathroom etiquette, head nod, keep moving. Bathroom is not a place where you start a conversation. Definitely not where you start a conversation. So go into the stall and just be like, I just ran into Corey wearing Rico leggings. But
very noticeably leggings.
Yeah, usually those events are kind of a blur for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would usually wear because I brought my own Aquarium Co-op cooler bag because I think members got them or something, or you could order them if you were a member.
Yeah.
And I would wear that in the front of me to hide my shame. So with the shoulder strap, it's perfect to hide the shame.
Nice.
So we have a lot of people coming in, and what I like to do towards the beginning of the stream is go through our participants
Participants.
Yeah, because Fishfam Link's got this handy little participants list that adds people to the list as they say something in chat. So there's been 51 people who have chatted in the chat since the stream has started. So just wanted to say welcome to Lumi, Liquid Zoo Only Fence, Sketty Nona, Benjamin Peters, Only Oscars, Jenna P, Empire of Dirt Aquatics, Jeff Kane, Foxy's Fishes, Scotty the Fish Freak, Nancy B in Tennessee, The Zen Ginger, Uncle Smiley's Aquariums, Fathom Aquatics, Monster Fish Gal, Coral Works, Aquatic Moose, Mystery Snail Gardens, Boots Cats, Linda Worth, SC Cat House, Brant and Light Cat, CR Fish, Cheryl Smith, Fish Fam Link, Peplin Creek Aquatics, Jim's Fish, Big Steve's Glass Boxes, Candy Overhauls, Rocky and Miles, Dee Dee's Fin Den, Mickey M, Keystone Clash, Night Owl Aquatics, Melissa Outside in Aquatics, Susanna Doo, Stan Pittman, Vanoski, Nathan Hovey, Adam McReynolds, Fish Capades, Jody P, Kelly Foreman, Renee DeQueer, Brookley Bell, Aquatic Nest, Jeff Pelham's Aquatics, Fish Wit, L Fish Tanks, Craig's Catfish Cave, Dorcula, and Bob Purcell, Eric Wyrock, Andy Carson, Joe's Fish Room. That might be the longest participants list I've ever had to read through.
He kind of got it to an auctioneer at the end.
Yeah, so your wife is in here warning us not to inflate your ego even more because then you won't fit in the bed.
Yeah, that happens often, yeah.
All right, I'll be right back. I'm going to go put the outfit on there.
Okay. And Johnny has entered the chat too.
Yes. I got to use the Fish Fam. I need to like have a meeting with the Fish Fam Link thing because I feel like it has a whole secret menu. Like I was on the site today and I was like, what I was actually trying to do is see like, is there an easy list that I could see like every creator and just send them a bunch of free stuff? And there wasn't, but I was looking around. I'm like, there's so much going on here, but I feel like I watch so many people use it in ways that aren't documented. And so there's like a whole secret menu of stuff that could go on. And some of it's got to be useful to me, but I just haven't done. I haven't done an ounce of work to extend my hand or say, hey, what can this do? But I feel like I should because I keep seeing more and more like, oh, that's a useful tool. Oh, that's pretty cool too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the site has one person who does the coding. That's Liquid Zoo. And of course, this is not his only job. He does a lot of other stuff. So occasionally he'll add a feature that we request. I mean, I think there's a lot of ideas in the works. There is a secret menu though. Basically, it's a Patreon based menu. And one of them is being able to see who pops in the chat, like read the participants list. But then a not secret thing is the giveaway tool, which is super easy. I like it better than Nightbot. I like it better than the StreamYard giveaway tool because you don't have to, like if Nightbot breaks on you or if the stream glitches or something, which has happened with Dan before where his stream, something happened with it, like something crashed and everyone had to re-enter in Nightbot. But the Fish Fam Link giveaway like catches all those hashtags retroactively and they don't expire. So gives everybody a fair shake. To
be fair, I did look at the Patreon as well because I'm not afraid to support people, but it didn't have secret menu there either. Not that I was necessarily looking for it, but I just kept being in streams. I'm like, that's doing a thing I don't remember ever reading about. That's doing a thing I don't remember reading about. This does more than I know.
Take that, Matt.
Matt. Well, I'm in the same state Eric was.
Gush. You better gush.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different directions that Fish Fam Link can go in, just depending on the interest in using it. But it's always been meant to kind of be a database of people who interact in chats, not just channels, but like people who are just chatting in here. They can add themselves at Fish Fam Link, and then events and live stream calendar is pretty useful.
Yeah. And with Secret Santa, you could go on there and see you could check yourself in if you were participating. So you could be like, oh, so-and-so is participating. I hope I get them. Or I'm going to show I'm going so that maybe more people will be able to sign up. So, and another thing about fishfam.link is with Patreon, it's only $5 a month. And that really helps. It really helps out Matt. To be able to provide the service and everything like that. And I really appreciate Matt, even though he makes fun of me constantly. I do appreciate him for this. I always say he's the nicest a-hole. He will be the first one to make fun of you when you fall down, but he will also be the first one to help you back up.
Yeah. Well, Matt is real. He's not fake, and he's going to tell you his opinion if you ask for it, and it's not going to be watered down.
There's no filters there.
Yeah, so Zen is saying, let me know when to do the giveaway for the hashtag tape. So the secret word has been uttered. The secret word was rock. I think Peplin said it. I gave him his points.
How many people typed Y Rock though? Or were they just saying Eric? I saw a few ats. Maybe because it has the dash. I bet it's because it has the dash.
I'm a little disappointed there's not a little sound that plays right now from like Pee-wee's Playhouse, like the secret word thing.
I looked for a clip of Pee-wee's Playhouse of him freaking out at the secret word, and I couldn't find one at the time, and then I just gave up at some point. And then I'm like, if I play it, then I'm going to get copyright strike. I don't know. So I did.
Fair.
Yeah. And then I was like, I could make a little AI song about saying the secret word, but then it's like, how long do I let that song drag on every time that happens? So.
And did you want to explain to Corey what aquarium background tape is?
Well, aquarium background tape is, it's tape that you take an aquarium background and you tape it to your aquarium, and then you have an aquarium background. But we're not even giving that away today because my secret Santa was Kyle outside in aquatics, and he has this really cool set of stickers that he's been doing called Fish Room Punks. It's like various fish keeping characters, and he's doing mystery packs right now, and he sent me some of these to give away. So that's what the hashtag tape was about.
Those are actually super cool. I almost bought some the other week, and then I got distracted and didn't find them.
My brother was obsessed with Garbage Pail Kids.
Well, someone will drop the link in chat for sure.
And that reminds me of Garbage Pail Kids so bad.
I just remember, I think a couple streams ago, you were like actually showing them off, and it was like armchair.
Yes, armchair biologist Ben is my favorite one.
All of those, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the internet when it comes to fish people. Like I kind of need these to use in meetings. Like, and then this guy shows up. Because we talk about avatars all the time in meetings of like, mostly it boils down to there's the hypercritical people, and then there's like the fish room nerds, and then there's just like just the soccer mom. Like, yeah, my kid's got some aquariums. I just need some products to keep them alive. I'm not really a hobbyist. And then there's like the deans, and there's all these different people. So they all kind of get avatars, and we'll discuss like, well, if we make that statement, the armchair lawyers are going to tear us apart type of deal. And so it's like we go out of our way. It's like, one is our dechlorinator. It's like, oh, we don't detoxify stuff, because one, I don't actually believe that's actually happening, but two, we don't like to make claims that we can't really back up to the armchair lawyers, where they're like, well, actually, and CChem and other companies, they do it if you hound them long enough. Like if you stay in the queue for like 4 months, they'll eventually get a chemist on the email and explain it. But they definitely have like a diversion tactic of like, we'll put a 3-week delay in every response, and eventually people just go away, and we don't actually have to spell out the science for people.
Has CChem ever explained to you how it detoxifies ammonia?
No, because I'll never sit through that. Yeah.
Oh, supposedly all it does is bind it to ammonium.
Yeah.
But like, can I prove that's happening? No.
Well, and that's the thing is, it's one thing to have a chemist in a back room who's got to like draft an email. It's another thing that I have to do it in front of a live stream every week. Like, could you explain it again? And which they're not everyone's science always holds up. Like, we tried to use some science from competitor companies in their studies to like get the EPA off our back for easy carbon. And turns out their chemists are like, yeah, that's not actually carbon. I'm like, yeah, I know, that's why I called it an algicide, but I don't want to register it in 50 states. So, and everybody else just knows this. So we'll see if it even sticks around and if who's going to go through that paperwork, because it's an insane amount. But it's kind of funny when you interact with companies. Everyone's got like a token chemist or two, and everybody else in the company doesn't know it. So they're just like, well, what'd that guy say? It has to be true because he's our chemist. We pay him a lot of money.
Yeah, well, how many marketing
things.
filters does the chemist email go through before it reaches the outside world, though?
Yeah, probably. I have no idea, but yeah.
70. Wait, is that 7.0 mile per hour winds?
Yeah.
Or is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I was like,
because we love nature, we have this little weather station I set up like a year ago, and we watch the weather like a hawk, and just watching wind speeds and the amount of rain has been fascinating for us. But yeah, that's my wife kind of trolling me. She'll just be like, "You see the wind?" and it'll be like 2 miles an hour. Like, yep.
yeah. So Zen, you can run that giveaway whenever you want. At this point, people have had some time. Oh yeah. So Annette wanted to know. Well, said Eric, ask Corey what he thinks about gravel cleaner. That was one of the free items in the Keystone Clash swag bag.
I went off,
and it is the most vague description I've ever seen of any aquarium chemical. Like there's no way in hell I'm ever putting that in my tank.
Nope.
I think it's just one of those like sludge liquefier things.
Yeah. I believe chemically it works. Like I've been to where they make Turbo Start and all that at Fritz, and I believe the chemists, and I believe that it works. I'm just not convinced, and I haven't tested it, so I'll be fair to Fritz on this. But all the other ones that I have tested in video, where I'm like, hey, we're going to dose it per instructions. We're going to triple dose it per instructions, and we never see any difference in an aquarium. And that's why I kind of adopted fish room science. Like, if it doesn't work in my fish room, I don't care what the actual science is. It's not working for me. So
what is the benefit? Like, how much sludge are you accumulating that you have to break it down chemically and not just...
Well, I don't think anybody has that problem. I think it's purely marketing, in that if you had a dirty aquarium, like most consumers would, if you had like algae on the glass, they're like, yeah, I need something to clean this. And a sludge destroyer, in their mind, that's going to get rid of algae. It's going to do things. And if you write stuff open-ended enough where you could do the mental gymnastics of like, well, a cleaner aquarium, like with less sludge in there, it would technically fuel algae less, technically. And but I do believe if you could put massive amounts of extra bacteria in there and it would process some stuff. I just don't think it would do... Like, the number one thing that I'm convinced everybody doesn't know is that when you put a piece of wood in your aquarium, you put a giant rotting thing in there. Like, it pretty much renders most of, you know, like, they go, well, I've got 20 fish, and does the aquarium calculator, it says I'm at 92%, can I add more? Meanwhile, they have a log that's like a whole canister filter's got to process every day because the pleco's eating on it, and it's just rotting, sitting there, that they're not even factoring in as more load than all of their fish times 10.
Yep.
Are you not a fan of wood in an aquarium? Or are you just...
I think it looks super cool. I'm just too lazy to change enough water to keep the tannin level down to where I like it to be clear for my job of filming. I think it's... I don't have a problem when someone's got like a black water tank. I think it looks dope. It's awesome. It's just terrible for doing my job. And unfortunately, when you have a large audience, like, you just don't need to give more ammo on how you suck. You're like, your tanks are so brown, they look so stupid. Like, when you clean them, it's like, this fish is spawning. I literally had to make a black water for it to spawn, but they don't know that.
Right.
So you can't logic someone that's not even paying attention. They're just, you know. So it's like, okay, that's. But for the most part, yeah, I stick to rocks in general or fake wood to remove variables, but I do love
at least like manzanita wood I like because it doesn't break down as fast. It's versus like spider wood or something, or like pine root, I think is the other one I have in my puffer tank. And for the first year and a half, it just was an algae factory, like just growing algae, and the weird the white fungusy bacteria globs, it's still growing that to this day.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
It's kind of my favorite wood is African bog log, but like nobody imports it, and I don't even know where I could import it. And to be fair, a lot of times the regions in Africa are so at war you can't get anyone like, go collect that. It's like, it's a war zone. We're not collecting that right now.
So I'll do it for $5,000.
Yeah, even that kind of money, they're like, well, we're not going to make it through alive. But even some of the last ones, they weren't like, I knew someone that was importing them when I didn't own a store. I was working for a store, but they had to incinerate the container because they didn't properly spray it basically before it left Africa, and so it showed up with lots of lizards and other stuff, and then they basically have to incinerate it. So
yeah.
Yeah, which is like the worst of like, no, we're taking natural resources. Hey, there was a bunch of living stuff. Hey, we got it over here. Now we're just setting it all on fire and charging people a bunch of money. And then people go, yeah, we're not bringing more of that wood in. It doesn't make us any money. So, like, but that was the best wood.
And it gives you a chance to interact with your favorite company, Universal Rocks, to get all your fake logs.
That's right.
I love those rants. Absolutely love those rants. I've gotten from Universal Rocks too, and I know the pain.
We're arch nemesis. So it's like the father fish thing. Never spoken to Universal Rocks either, but we're arch nemesis somehow. Like, I'm not even on their radar, and yet they're anytime I deal with the company, like, why you got to do this to me?
6 to 9 week delay after you pay.
Dean and I will order on the same day, and we'll get radically different results. And that's why I'm convinced there's some conspiracy going on of like, we literally ordered the same day. We've tested this. We live like an hour away from each other. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Manzanita Beach, Rachel said, sounds like a fun place. I didn't know that was a real thing. I bet if you go there, you're not allowed to take anything with you.
Yeah.
Maybe you have to be authorized. I mean, I know wherever Tom Barr goes and grabs all that wood, like it's a lot of manzanita wood. He gets some really nice pieces when he goes out collecting.
I've done it with him. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's up in the mountains. It's a lot of work, and when you're there with him, you get the full story. I think we put out a members only video, or it was a normal video that no one watched, because while everyone thinks manzanita wood is cool, no one wants to watch 26 minutes about it. But to distill it down into like, oh, that might be a cool tidbit. For a while, he was actually getting paid to collect it, because if no one collects it or harvests it, California just burns to the ground because it's wildfires, right?
Man, there's some gnarly pieces too.
Yeah, so it's thinning. And so he just basically selects the stuff that's already died, which is it kind of outcompetes itself, and stuff will happen. And so it's kind of the perfect thing of like, that's what we want out of nature, of like, this thing that is causing a problem, we can now repurpose. Someone's making some income from it. Like, this is the best. But that story never plays well to the public, just like no one wants to buy a wild caught cardinal tetra, even though it's better for the hobby. The end of the day, what something costs is what people actually care about. What they say they care about and what they do with their money are two different things. And when you actually look at aggregate numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I will buy a cardinal tetra if it has a full belly and it's been in a tank in one spot for at least a couple of weeks and looking good, because I've been burned pretty bad. I probably had to buy about 150% more cardinal tetras than I intended to keep, just to like keep that. Well, you
and Brookley.
But Brookley finally she got 10 of them from Dan's Fish, and they were rock solid. Didn't lose a single one.
Nice.
Yeah, there's quite a bit. If you like, I've been in some high level meetings with Project Piaba and some other stuff, like high level marketing meetings, and in my opinion, they're going the opposite direction they should. But they seem to think people will care about the environment, which it's like, that's the minority. They care about pricing, like, because they were basically trying to argue to me that people will be willing to pay double for a wild caught sustainable one. I'm like, they won't. They just won't.
Absolutely.
On a fish that people want 20 to 30 of, they're not going.
I mean, I will, but I'm probably not the average person who
but
sees
we're educated,
shiny, pretty fish in the fish store. Yeah.
Yeah, we're educated on what happens.
Yeah, I'm talking about random customer walks through my door at the store, and they're just buying and
$10
2 tanks, and you got a nice, like, oh, that's a nice story, buying these ones because I get it for half the price. And and whenever I say it's like people won't, it's like there's always like 10% of people will just do anything, right? But so we're always talking about like, what's the majority of people doing?
Right.
Put them in this experiment. It's not just a thought experiment. We watch them do what they're going to do. And when you watch them, you're just like, yeah, they say they care about the environment. And then you'll watch them, but like, I don't care twice the price though. And that's kind of a logical thing. Not everyone's got that budget. And so the funny part, what you learn in these meetings though, is that like, once they actually start going, well, why are we having problems? They found like, oh, they're never fed. Like when they're in the Amazon, they literally are never fed until they get stateside. And so like one of the big revelations was we're going to start feeding the fish for a week before we ship them. And then we're going to start using more than just salt. And so like these very basic things, right? That need to be done, but aren't done out of, if your job was to collect cardinal tetras and someone will buy them, whether you did more work or not, you will just do less work. That's why do more work for free. And so when you start incentivizing, if you do these steps, we will give you 3 cents instead of 2 cents for the cardinal tetra, all of a sudden, hey, they're willing to do it. And so, yeah, that's the big shift that's kind of going on, which is good.
So Johnny's saying in chat, people will pay $8 for a healthy cardinal. There's not a shortage of those people, luckily. I mean, $8, that's pretty good. Even if you need 10 of them. I think for the crap ones at my LFS that were dying off, within like a day or two, they were still like $6. So
yeah, no, there's definitely that. I would push back with data of like, maybe Dan's Fish goes, oh, we sell 10,000 cardinals in a year at $8, and it's like, sweet, 1.2 million got sold in a year. So while there are buyers, kind of, it's always, and that's the hardest thing when you're actually in these high level meetings, because like what I see in my store has no bearing on actually what goes on, because the average customer doesn't watch Corey's live streams and these things, and so my
right, they're just wandering into a fish store. Basically, they have no indication of like who you are or anything about the co-op.
No matter what I do or Dan's Fish does, like it's like, oh, you guys combined do 1/100% of what Petco and PetSmart do in a year. Like we literally do nothing basically, and so that's when you're in these high level meetings and you've got these fish farms execs and stuff like that, and they're used to talking numbers in hundreds of thousands of fish and stuff like that, and they're like, well, Petco and PetSmart, here's what they're doing, and this is going on, and that's what they care about, because that is the lion's share, unfortunately. And there's always a hope that there'll be a shift with that, but as a farm owner, you have to go where the money is. You can't be like, well, I just don't want to do that. You'd go out of business. So
that's pretty damn disheartening, though. It's like you think you're helping change the industry because you're buying from this place that sells a lot of really nice fish, and it's like, well, you're about 0.05% of the market.
I think it is helping, though. Like there's,
it's a positive. Sure, it's a move in a positive direction for sure.
For sure, you can't figure out the problem without doing anything. So yeah. I do think there is movement on it, but it's a great example of this for me is tissue cultures. Like tissue cultures have been around for 20 years now, and it's like everybody wants to launch them in the U.S. market. Pretty much nobody actually wants them, and because it's bigger is better in America. But we're starting to get a tiny bit of traction. But until Tropica and other companies put cooler plants in tissue cultures, that's what's holding us back. It's give us unlimited pink flamingos, cryptnuries, all the rare nubius and that kind of stuff, and tissue cultures will be popular tomorrow. When you tell me like, but you could buy this run-of-the-mill plant that has no duckweed and snails for twice the price of a normal one, like, yeah, but my store already has that. It's half the price. Like, I don't think the people that are making these big decisions, I ran into this a little bit too, is like, as a CEO of a company, you forget what it's like when it's like your budget's $26 for the month on fish. Like twice as many plants is huge. Like that's never, people in this chat might be like, well, my budget's a few $100s a month or something. Like, oh, I'm out of control and I spend a lot of money on my aquatic stuff. But the average family, the average person, that 14-year-old kid that wants to keep an aquarium, he might get $50 for his birthday, and that's going to last.
And that's the average, where you got to think about if half of those other people are going to be even spending even less.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Nathan wanted to ask you, have you heard of Dr. Tank BBA remover, algae remover, planaria remover?
Yeah, I've tested all of them, and
it's a little tablet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they come in the white things, and I found them it was either Sips in China or at Interzoo. And I was like, yes, this will be printing money. I was like, if your products work, I would much rather. And the thing I was more interested in, they actually had fertilizer and everything in tab form. And I was like, I would love to ship tabs as opposed to liquids because it costs lots of money to ship liquids and they bust open and things happen. We had to get a few shipments sent over because they kept getting confiscated because they wouldn't classify them right to get them. I think they were coming out of Japan. Dr. Tank is, I think, technically. And so through my testing, though, of the like 4 or 5 products I tested, I wasn't able to get the results they claimed on any of those 5. And I kind of gave up after that because it was the most common things of like, let's try algae and let's try these things. And I tried for sure I know I tried the planaria and a couple of the algae removers, because if you have a product that literally is like, oh, it's safe for everything that lives and it'll get rid of algae, that literally is printing money. Like I could sell millions of dollars worth of those every year. And so, but I couldn't get it to do it in my tank. So it doesn't mean that you guys wouldn't, but I so far haven't had success. And so if I can't have personal success, we don't sell it.
Yeah, I mean the algae remover stuff, every single algae remover thing is usually just like a broad spectrum damage every organic cell in the tank, but like the plants are more resilient than the algae, and so the algae dies, but everything else kind of suffers, and then you don't solve the problem, you just kind of reset it. So I've never been a fan of the glutaraldehyde stuff either for that reason.
Yeah,
right.
It's like shading. It's going to grow back.
I understand the glutaraldehyde, and I wasn't a fan of it either, but so we actually went through a phase of like we sold the CChem version of it, and then I just didn't even really want to sell it, but people kept saying like, why don't you guys make a version? I want it in the pump form. And it's like, yeah, because I was mostly against of like, it doesn't replace CO2. And so that's why we called it an algae inhibitor, and it kind of does do that. But I do believe that it's my job to test a bunch of stuff, because what if you could find a way to bottle allelopathy, like plant water, and it's like, oh, this bottle fights duckweed. Like we found it. We found the chemical compound that did it.
I would love that.
Right. Everyone would love that. And so I don't want to be caught sleeping on like something that's actually working.
Right.
So I test so many things. And like another one was, what was that stuff that was like all the rage on Facebook ads for like 11 minutes? I think I can look it up. I think Fuse Plant's still selling it. But I spent $60 and couldn't replicate it. And I don't know what it is because I haven't set it in for like chemical analysis or anything, but some sources that usually know what they're talking about basically say it's just a barley extract, and that's why it will help prevent algae but not kill algae. And that's exactly what barley does, is it will inhibit making algae but does not kill algae that you have. And so if you can get rid of all the algae, then use barley extract, that is a chemical compound that will work. But unfortunately I was forced to test it because it just every day comments on YouTube like, hey, are you using this? Why aren't you selling it? And it's like, because I don't think, I'm always skeptical. Like, you've got a liquid that fixes all of our problems. That's usually snake oil. And then I don't want to call it snake oil because there have been products that I just can't get to work that do work. Like that does happen. Sometimes water structure, user error, whatever it is. But so now I just go with, I literally can't get it to work. And so if I can't, and I try really hard, usually it's, my friends can't get it to work either. So,
yeah, I guess Nathan's fighting BBA, and my solution to BBA has been just like clean more and clean your filter and do more water changes. Like I solve a lot of problems with water changes, but I'm lucky enough to have very clean water. Like it's clean slate water. Not everyone has that luxury.
Yeah, I think it's always 2 steps. There's like clean up your mess, like as in do good husbandry. And then I usually employ someone to eat it for me, whether it's a Siamese algae or a flagfish, someone you don't have to be good at it. Just start chipping away at it. It's like you need to
do
clean
the barbs
your garage,
eat the Blackbeard or just the hair
not
algae?
that I've seen. Yeah, not that I've seen on the Blackbeard algae. But I don't have a ton of it to test, but yeah, and I also don't think Amano shrimp are that great of algae eaters either, but that one gets oversold. They do eat algae if they're hungry enough. Like if I have a tank of 2 or 3,
but you have to deploy like 100 of them. Like
yes. And they can clean, a plant that's just encrusted in Blackbeard algae in like overnight. It's amazing. but nobody has an army of 200 or 300, and so that's not really a practical fish room application. But I do believe make those changes. Make sure you're fertilizing correctly, your lights are decent, and just overall your tank is in a healthy way. Then employ anybody who wants to help you, whether it's your kid, that Siamese algae eater, anything that will start chipping away at it. If you fix the thing that's causing it, eventually you will run out of it. Eventually.
Yeah.
Well, I loved your video that you just released. How you killed the algae on your Java ferns was you let your water sprite go nuts, and then it was crazy. You move it over, and oh look, completely clean. And that's the light that they were actually wanting. And you got to dial it into each tank.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I hope I become the crazy mad scientist that proves to everybody that we have way too much light, because I catch so much heat every time I post anything about it. Like, this guy, he's got 1,000 or 1,000,000 people, and he doesn't have no idea what he's talking about. And yet I keep proving these things in my own fish room. Like,
yeah, well, I mean, people
accident.
can prove it in their own fish rooms. Like, dude, just turn down your light. Your plants don't just keel over the minute you dim your light. You can watch things happen over a period of weeks. And you can intervene if your plants really are dying as a result of not enough light, and you're going to find that they're probably going to do okay.
I'm real tempted to buy like single T8 bulb, double bulb, some T5 fixtures, measure the par, and just show, because you'll find like absolutely beautiful Dutch aquascapes from like early 90s, and they're like, yeah, they use 5 T8 bulbs, and if I know the par, I lived through this era, so I know like a low light tank today is dang near equal to a highlight tank back then. Like, I don't think any of us realize how low light we were actually playing with when Duplo was all the rage for planet tanks. And it's like, yeah, you have to be heating the substrate to get the convection current, to get the nutrients to the roots. And we had horrible plant science going on. The lighting was so low, and yet we had amazing planet tanks to the people that put in the time. And so I'm convinced that we're basically making our lives 10 times harder with plants, with, basically we're sunburning everything with just way too much light. It's cheap.
So there's a question. I don't know if you want to avoid this subject altogether or not, but oh wait, that's not the right one. There was one asking about the nano copyright. Here we go. Is the word nano trademarked across every single field?
No, I can speak to it a little bit. I mean, I'm legally, I can speak all the way to it. There's nothing stopping me from it.
The trademark is public. You can look it up.
Yes. So from what I know, a couple things I can speak on that is that trademark was filed purely in the agriculture industry. So basically, it's going to be fish or cattle or some kind of farming related term.
Those nano cows.
Yep, nano cows. So it applies to that. And then the other thing that even says, like on the thing I was looking, is trademarks only hold up unless they're challenged and they are a common word. So sometimes you can have a trademark like a Xerox, for instance, as an example that's used a lot of. It was a company, but then they did so well in marketing that everyone would just say, like, go Xerox that, not copy it, go Xerox that. And then they lost the trademark because it became common vernacular. And so, but someone would have to go through the courts to prove that, right? You'd have to be like, hey, here's the studies, here's what we show, because the person that would have oversaw that, it would be like me having to oversee writing a trademark for like dirt bikes. I know nothing about dirt bikes. And I'd be like, yeah, okay, that seems logical. Yeah, you didn't, you're not trademarking the word dirt bike. You've got some other weird word I've never heard of before. That's fine. And then you'd have to like actually prove it. And then I do think that it's a challengeable thing because it's existed for so long in so many aspects of our hobby. But from my end, it was simply easier to change the name, because when we were naming our food, I was like, it doesn't matter. The food is so good. Like, we have to give it a name. Like, it'd be horrible marketing to not give it a name. That would be right. So we're just like, we basically made a short list. We're like, yeah, pick one, run it. And we actually do that with way too many of our products because we're a bad company, but that's where you'll see stuff like, how come this is shipping in a white box? And how come this is this? And the reality is, like, we'd rather just get the product out there and people using it. And if it's good, people will buy it. And it doesn't matter what we call it. And so yeah, I think it's very interesting to see what happens with different words being trademarked and how much bigger companies than us respond to that, because there's quite a few
there's
foods out there
Northfin.
with that.
Yeah, that's the one I noticed.
And Zoomed's got some, and there's quite a few companies out there with that, and yeah, so it's not the game I play. I play a different game, I guess. I'm just like, well, I just try to sell more. That's what I'm going to do, and honestly, I kind of once we got that lawyer letter or whatever, it forced us to slow down and go, okay, you got to come up with a new name. And I was like, well, if I got to rename it, let's do a better job. And so that's why we came up with small fish. And it's because when you ask, like, if I was away and my wife was saying like, hey, this tank over here, and I'm on the phone, like, there's a dead fish, she would explain it to me. Yeah, the small fish you have here. She would never say like, the nano fish you have. She wouldn't.
Right. Yeah.
And so when I start thinking like with the Petsco PetSmart brain of like a random person walking into a shelf someday of these hundreds of fish stores we have, they're like, yeah, I have small fish. They might not know what nano fish even are. Like what? And I would raise this question to people: can we even really put confines on a nano fish? Like, is it only up to an inch? Is it up to 2 inches? Is it like what aspects go on that truly make it a nano thing, where it actually became a lot easier. We just said small, like, because small has relevant size in so many aspects of life. It was actually just, I think it actually will just be straight up better. And so, yeah.
So how many cans of that are labeled nano do you have to go through until you change it?
About 10,000. So our first order was 4,000. And as I was testing it longer, I'm like, this is going to be a hit. I know it. I love this stuff. I am obsessed with it. So we ordered another 8,000, and so we basically will go through about 12,000 cans with that name. And I will say, they were gracious enough to say like, hey, change all the website stuff, do all of that, and you don't have to put a label on your package. Just sell through them and make sure the next print runs. So they're playing very nice, and so I will give a thank you for that. Like that's and it's all business stuff, and that's the thing is. There's hobby stuff, and then there's business stuff, and for all I know, there could be like investors involved and other stuff, and a lot of times we get caught in crossfire. Like you could have two big companies duking it out, and then it's like, well, if we have to serve one person with notice, we have to serve everyone with notice. Like legally, you can't just pick and choose who you're going to enforce this on. So yeah, that as far as I'm aware, that notice.
So it's not like a big falling out with that company.
Right.
Then
no, it's not. Okay. Nope. Yeah.
Cool. So Bob Purcell wanted to get our thoughts on Congo spotted puffers in a planted community tank. I've got 3. Will it work? Will groups of the puffers work with groups of other fish? Any fish to avoid? I mean, I have just the N=1 of it working in my. I have a 50-gallon. I have 3 of them, and I've got the raccoon tetras and coolie loaches and slimies algae eaters in there.
I think just avoid stuff that'll beat on them, and then other puffers. Like, not that it couldn't be done, because I've theorized a tank that I think could work, but for general, a bunch of people might see this and say, "Hey, those guys said it would work." It's like, I don't know that that'll work. I would avoid basically stuff that would beat on those puffers, and then in general, just other puffers.
Oh, you're thinking there's a possibility of a mixed puffer tank, like Amazons and Congos or something?
Yeah, I was thinking more like pea puffers and like Congo or something. Like in a very large tank, like 800 gallons plus, it would be something I've never seen. Doesn't mean it'd be cool. A lot of times you do that stuff, you're like, yeah, you know why no one carries all the rare fish? Because they don't sell. You know why no one puts that many puffers in a 1,500 gallon? Because it doesn't look very cool.
Yeah, or that they all form their factions and kind of stay in the corners of the tank. You never see them.
Yeah, I could see that. And so, yeah, that's the loose requirements is, just don't let anything beat on it. And there's all kinds of subtleties of like, someone just asked an innocent question like, well, how about clown loaches? Clown loaches in the spotted Congo puffer. And it's like, yes. Like, well, what about 300 clown loaches? Like, 300 clown loaches don't go with almost anything because they gobble all the food. Like, you'll never get a snail to them. You'll never get. And so, like, everything's always like, well, what's the exact question we're asking? Because you change a few parameters, and at those extremes, none of this will work.
Yeah. I mean, my puffer tank, it was just a big experiment. Like every time I added something to that tank, I had like 2 different tanks that I could put them in as backups. Like I ordered just one, and then it was a really weird thing. Like I ordered the single specimen puffer, and she hid most of the time. And it wasn't until I ordered 2 more, like for the first 24 hours, it's like they hated each other, but they didn't actually like hurt each other. They were just chasing each other. And then suddenly they're all friends. And the one that hid from me for over a year doesn't hide from me at all. She's at the front of the tank begging for food and taking food from tweezers and like just rushing to the snails.
Steven, didn't you say the other 2 puffers came in and taught her how to be a pufferfish?
I mean, it's what it seemed like, because the other 2, you know, they were like water puppies from the start. As soon as they realized that I'm the guy with the food, they were like, okay, well, he's the one that's going to feed us.
Lots of animals do that. Like I'm not surprised that would happen. I'm also, you know, very cautious of like one person's experience will be completely different from another person's experience. Like we both got dogs the same day. It doesn't mean they're going to be even close to similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And I still have 2 open tanks just in case things go south. Like if I have to separate all 3 puffers, and then I still have the open space for that, because like I've never had puffers before. So this is all just like experiment for me.
Ooh.
I think a lot of people don't realize we're all experimenting. Like there's so many fish combos that just have literally never been done. You could probably just pick like who's done Limias and Congo spotted puffers, and the list literally might be no one ever. Like that just happens with newer fish to the hobby, which the Congo puffers are, because they were in a war zone as it happens.
Yeah, we're all experimenting, and most of us are doing a piss poor job of keeping good data.
In our head, we're not.
Very bad.
Yeah.
And talking about experimenting, Corey, one of the things I love about your fry food is one day I saw your fry food and I go, you know what? I bet I can make my own Sarah Onit tabs with this. So I went on Amazon, and I'm probably on a list somewhere, but I got a pill crusher that forms pills. And so what I love to do is take your fry food and pound it into these little tablets. Mind you, I do not exert enough pressure or have binders, so they kind of, once they hit the water, they sink, and they kind of explode on the bottom once the air comes out of it. But my Corys and Plecos go so bonkers for it. It's so funny to watch my panda Corys that when the when the tab hits the ground, them come and just be like, oh, and they'll eat it, and their food will shoot out of their gills. It's just awesome. And I was wondering, have you ever thought about making like a Sarah Onip tab styles food with your?
Yeah, I mean, I have a stack of samples over there between bloodworm ones, spirulina ones. Like, yeah, most things make sense where it's like, if we've already sold it and it did well for us, we want to make our own version. When someone changes a formula, which Sarah did, and we have decent ones, but the problem I get is I want to make them dang near perfect. Like if Sarah's already exists, right? So just go buy those. Ours would need to be better in some way that I can stand behind. And ours right now, I think the ones that we have access to right now are maybe slightly worse. The pricing would be way better, but I'm not convinced they're just better. And then it takes a decent amount. Like I actually think they need more, I'm going to call it like fat or grease in it. They don't stick as well as I want. Right now, when you go to stick them, they stick to your thumb more than the glass. So if you basically put it into water for a second, flip it over and stick it, it'll stick for like hours. If you just take it and stick it and you hold it against the glass, you pull it away and it sticks to your thumb. It has to like hydrate for 1 second before you make contact and push it on. And so I think there's something to do with like the amount of, I'm going to call it just fat and grease ratio that's in there that needs to make it want to stick to glass more than your thumb. So, yeah. And that was all during this other food time. And so I was like, well, let's go on the 2 horses I'm willing to bet on. We got time to work on this one. And I don't want to just put it out and be like, yeah, it's kind of okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, I like the ONIP tabs, and they changed, like they did their formula change, but then they did something that made it less terrible after they changed the formula.
Right. They
And
changed
I don't know
it
if they
again.
did they like revert back to the old formula, or did they just make some
Not the old
tweaks?
formula. They made some tweaks. So they basically, from what I was told, they basically did a company-wide initiative that they were going to go to. I think the official term was more natural ingredients, and that's where you saw all their labels change to like brown labels and all that. That was like a big
Yeah.
shift. And so with doing that, they reformulated like all their food, and the ONIP tab ones
Suddenly
sucked.
falls apart and the fish
Yeah.
don't want it.
And
Yeah.
then like a year and a half later, they're like, hey, we fixed them. And so they sent us more, and we test them. We're like, yeah, they don't suck as bad,
New
but they're
Coke.
not as good as they were. Like I used to use these every day for filming and all of that. In the store, we'd use an insane amount of these. It's not that. And then they basically admit, like, yeah, it's never coming back, bro. And it's like, well, yeah, that's it's and
Well,
it's not that the product is unusable. It's that I've got a lot of videos showing how good it is, and when people go, I'm not getting that experience, like, well, yeah, you never will. They've changed the formula. And then the other problem was they did the thing that just always irks us, and that is we'll work with a company, we'll make a product really popular, and then they'll be like, oh, sweet, Petco and PetSmart are knocking at the door. And then they sell it to them and then raise our price, and then they'll let them undercut us. And we're like, yeah, we're not selling very many anymore, so we just won't sell them.
mm.
And Nancy B and Ben Peters has some good hashtags there. Less suck and suck less.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's a good move overall. They're better for the environment, but you can't pull all of those levers and not have it fall apart. For a company like me, of like, yeah, price went up, and all these random vendors have it now, and they're not as good for the customer. Like, where in my system, I'm always like, each party has to win, right? The producer, the seller, and the customer. And I'm like, I think the only person winning right here is the producer. So that's not a winning system anymore. You used to have the winning system. Yeah.
So Corinne wants to know how we feel about chasing a particular velocity or flow in a tank. She tends to worry a lot about that in her tank, seeing online fish prefer X flow. It feels vague. I haven't really worried about it that much. I pretty much have very similar flow in all of my tanks. I think the only tank where I actually thought about it were betta tanks.
Yeah, so I think you're on the right track. If I worry about there being too much flow instead of a fish preferring amount of flow, like I want to make sure that there's somewhere for the fish to relax, and that's basically it. But if I was focusing on flow, and I am a little bit like an 800 gallon, my goal is that I could see every plant moving a tiny bit, whether it's a fish moves the plant, something. But I don't go out of my way to add a ton of flow. I definitely don't live by like 10x the amount of gallons is how many GPH you should have, anything like that. I don't use any of those rules. Mostly because I just don't. Most rules don't. They're just very loose guidelines. If you knew nothing, here's something that'll be better than absolute failure, but not anywhere close to. It'd be like saying like, oh, cookies are made at 350 degrees. Like, well, what type of cookie and all of that? Like, well, it's better than 1,000 degrees. They'd just be charred at that point. Like, yes, it is better than that, but that's not even close to what it might need to be for these specific cookies or these specific fish we're keeping.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and even like the rated flow on a filter is not actually it doesn't seem to be a real number. I mean, it's like the flow rate if you didn't have media in it or something.
No media, and it was
for everybody,
18-inch drop, or it
for
also
everybody
how long
Eheim does rate it with media in it, and so that's why on paper they look terrible, because you're like, why would I buy that thing? It's like, well, because they actually did it like you were going to use it. That's fish room science versus not fish room science. But there is like a $300 meter that I want to buy to measure all that flow, and I just the thing I want the answer. I just don't want the heat that it brings from all the companies. Like, you made us look terrible. We'll never work with you again. Like, one, you weren't working with us to begin with. And then two, like, how about you don't make me have to make you be the bad guy? Like, Oase still has fluidized media on their package, and they don't have fluidized media. And when you talk to the guy that designed the filter, he's like, yeah, that's marketing. And because they put it in a bag. They literally put it in a bag so it can't move. Like, because it's a floating media and they put it in the bottom chamber, it would just float out and be a mess. You could never use it. And so instead we put it in a bag, and it's like, yeah, but that's not fluidized anymore. You literally took the
But water
fluid
flows
out.
through it.
Yeah, but it's in fluid.
Yeah.
And so it's just stupid stuff like that where it's like,
Semantics.
everyone can make mistakes. Like, just update the box. You just got to not
Filter
say it's
science
fluidized.
filter science is wacky.
Yeah, like it just change the box. That's all you gotta do. It's easy.
Yep. Well, we can keep talking, but I'm gonna
push that button.
Yeah, well, I gotta pull up the logos first. That's the first part of it. So community member logos. Zoom in on it, make it impossible to read, and then guess who it is.
I always try and do a terrible job at all this because I don't want to win. Like, sometimes proving that I'm at least halfway smart, but then I'm like, I better back off because I don't want to win.
Well, you are on the scoreboard now, so that means you have an equal chance of winning some merch at the end of the year.
Oh, is it anyone that participated could win?
Yep.
Yeah, so like the top 2 or 3 point scorers just get the merch for free automatically. Then everybody else goes on a wheel.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, very low stakes game, like just to win some merch at the end of the year.
Yep.
I can just make your life hell. I'll put like $5,000 gift cards at all of them and just make it for your emails always flooded with, this guy's cheating. I know it.
I will just shut down my channel.
Yeah.
I have no monetary ties to YouTube. I have a full-time corporate job. I will abandon this at the drop of a hat. I mean, that's always been my philosophy with YouTube. It's like the minute it's not fun, then I'm just gonna beat someone in chat.
Yeah, that's freeing. So
yeah, for sure.
I'll never get this because I remember the first time I played it, which was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I was like, "Whose logo?" And then it was someone's eye in their logo. I'm like, that is impossible for a guy like me, just because it makes some sense when you're like, "Oh, you've got 50 people in here." But in my live streams, and pretty much the ones that hang out, they're like, "Oh, there's 700 people." Like, I've never looked to see what even the color of someone's eye in one of their avatars is. Like, this is impossible.
Your chance just
I always pull these from people who participate in the smaller streams, because if I was like randomly pulling it from your Sunday stream, then people would riot. It's like, who is this person? They chat nowhere else.
Right.
But I think we've already got answers, actually.
Dang.
See, this is why I need Jenna. She would have pulled these up. Now I gotta search.
Well, say it out loud and help.
It's Cheryl. And I think the first one was Rachel, followed by Branton, and I don't know, maybe Zen. I might just have to go through the chat later.
Gets is first.
Cool.
Then Branton.
Yeah, Jenna just had to go to Disney World.
How dare she? How dare? And then Zenny.
Cool. Yep. I feel like on a Sunday stream, your wife said something like, "Don't get Corey started on Disney World." So
I hate Disney World.
I mean, it's the way I look at it. I mean, the kids are happy. We've gone a few times. Jenna is really into it. She's going with her mother this weekend. So I do that, but then I look at the money that we spend to actually have a good time in Disney World. I'm like, we could have gone to an island. Like we could have had the most extravagant vacation anywhere else, but we had a middle-class time at Disney World instead.
I got in for free because a fan got me in and everything, and it still sucked. And the reason why is like, so even if you buy the upgraded pass, like the expedited lines, every ride I looked at was still 90+ minute wait with you bought the expensive person pass. And then the fast pass. And then so Randy and I went, and because he loves the place, like he wants to go, and I was all right. Like
I love
technically, we don't
Randy.
have to get on a plane till tomorrow or whatever, tomorrow morning. So okay, I'll indulge this. And so then I'm like, okay, well, it's real hot, and we finally like do all the trams, and we're parked in Goofy Gate or whatever it is, because each little, like, oh, this is Simba's Revenge over here. And then you gotta get onto the tram, and you finally get there, and it's been an hour and a half before we're even like in the place, and we're in there, and it happened to be like spring break weekend at the same time. But
that was terrible decision.
I've been other times also, still sucked equally, but so then we just like, let's get out of here, basically. And we get 2 Diet Cokes and 2 Snickers.
$400.
And it was $30. $30 at the gift shop. And I'm just like, who is enjoying this experience? I fully get that like a kid would be losing their mind because they've got the refillable soda cup for $900, and they've got a half of a stale cookie for another $26,000. And I understand we're making memories, but
memories are another $100.
At what cost?
At what cost? I'm like, this is, because you can't even use the fast pass, because it's a Small World, which isn't even a ride. It's just like the smallest kiddie thing.
It's still a napping facility.
Yeah, it was a 42-minute wait with the fast pass into that. And I was like, there's literally not a single thing you can do in here in under 2 hours. Like, you walk through the gate, you were minimum at 2 hours before you could even think about doing anything. This is
now, my wife would strongly argue against that, because she's a very good planner. Like, her full-time job, she's a project manager, but she's also a travel agent, like on the side for the Disney experience, and she is very well versed on it. Not many people are as well versed on it as she is. She can plan a week in Disney where you don't wait more than 15 minutes for a ride. She knows, but it takes that level of effort of like going to Disney University practically to have that kind of experience, and you're still going to pay out the ass for it too. And like the fast pass thing has gotten so much worse.
Yep.
Now it's like this generic thing that you buy per park that is, I think, ranges like $200 to $500 plus the
it's insane
cost
money
of the ticket. And I think they were only offering it to people who were staying at one of the resorts, and it's like, a double price hotel. So yeah, like we can drop 10 grand on a Disney trip and have like a medium time, or we could, go literally anywhere. We could go to Australia or New Zealand or something.
Call me crazy. I thought you could go to Disneyland and in 6 hours you could go on more than 2 rides. That's all I'm saying, is maybe they should rethink their model in some way where you don't have to get certified to make sure you could get your money's worth out of a Disneyland trip or Disney World trip, either one.
Yeah. All right, so I'm just seeing Oinky and Rachel. It's Red Laser is whose logo this is.
Red Laser.
Then a friend of mine had his wedding at Disney World. I cannot even fathom how much that cost him. But
well, did you go to the wedding?
Yeah, I did.
Did it suck?
No, it did not suck.
Like $4 million. Like,
yes,
I imagine there's some like at some amount of money, Disney World and Disneyland are fun, and it's just amounts of money I can't afford. So that's how you know it's expensive. Like, oh, you went. And
it's probably the fanciest wedding I've ever been to. Like, the food was phenomenal. It was in like there was private parties where you get this separate area where you're not in a crowd and you get to watch the fireworks. Like, that in itself was probably several $1,000s. It's
sure. Yeah.
Nuts.
Yeah.
But you have to really, really, really like Disney World.
That's my wife.
I think Disney stuff's kind of cool. Like, watching the movies and just the characters and everything. It just sucks the fun out when you're like, oh, I came here to enjoy this. Like, oh, it's just not going to be enjoyable. That's a bummer. Yeah. It's the same thing I fight in my own store. Like, not that I'm on Disney World, though, let's be clear, but you get to my store and you're like, oh, it's a Saturday and it's like 30 minutes before I can get help. Like, we actively work to reduce that. store expansion that'll never open, hire more people, all those things. Where I get the vibe on, so many of these corporate things are like, no, that's just going to be the norm. We make more money when people, like, if we make them sit there long enough, they'll spend $30 on some Diet Cokes and some Snickers. Like, we make more money this way. And we saw that during COVID too. Like, if we made way more money at the retail store by not letting people enter our retail store than we do when we let people shop. When you walk up to the door and you're like, tell me what you want, I will bag it and get you right out.
You sell priority passes, like fast passes. You can get to the front of the line for another $100.
We didn't do that, but
they're easy passes. They're easy passes.
Yeah.
All right. So these are fish that were drawn by AI, and that's all I'm gonna say
actual
about that.
AI or UAI. Okay, it is actual AI.
Yeah.
Oh man, I got a race.
And so, what's the official thing? You're supposed to guess what the source fish was.
Yeah. What do we have in mind when when this was being drawn?
I know what my guess is. I don't know if I say it though, and that ruins everything.
Oh, if it's another color, I'll be mad.
Okay, it's in chat, so go ahead. What were you saying?
Oh, well, mine wasn't going to be I was going with Norman Lamp-Eye Killie.
Oh, that's a good one too, because the lamps. But it's. I'm gonna give it to you, Eric. Orange laser, gold laser, same thing.
Tomato.
Yeah. So let's see. Eric, Branton, Rachel, and Moose. Wait, no, not Rachel. Moose and Coro and Branton, Eric. Okay.
And Corey, as you know, that's Moose first saying hello. If you ever see me type that in your chat.
I like to think I see most of the chat, but my wife every time like, did you see that? I'm like, no, I didn't.
There's no way. I mean, even now, your chat's a lot slower than it was like during COVID, where it was just dizzyingly fast. But yeah, it's still. And
that one's awesome.
Jenna did this one.
Jenna's got some explaining to do.
Is it always freshwater? Because I know it's perfect saltwater.
It can be. Yeah.
Hi, Mrs. Shrimp. You've enhanced yourself.
Aquatic Moose is thinking what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, we got. Let's see who said it first. Well, is that a common sexy dancer shrimp, or is it just sexy shrimp?
I just know it as sexy shrimp.
Corey, give it to him.
I'm not the ultimate saltwater person. There could be the saltwater nerd going, yeah, these guys think it's sexy shrimp. It's actually.
Well,
they were separated 2 years ago.
And Coro. All right.
Petco calls it a dancer, disqualified. Petco will give a name to half the stuff. Not selling? Give it a different name.
Hey, Jeremy.
A variant teacup.
All right. Now for the ones that I actually drew.
That you tried so hard on.
Okay. We'll go with that.
I mean, so I listen to the stream from time to time, and you're like, oh, I barely tried, and
they're actually really good.
Yeah, and I'm like, if that's barely trying, like I try as hard as I could, and it would be laughable. So you got skills, I guess, because my again, it's like my bar. I thought I was eating bologna and I was top tier. My bar is real low, apparently. Like, oh,
I think it's more to do with my mood while I'm drawing them. Like, I don't like these fish. I'm not interested in them. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them. You get minimal effort. But we started with when we started this game, we were using like a really old iPad, we were using a touchscreen laptop with Microsoft Paint. And then some friends of mine got us this drawing pad that you connect to a computer, and it's like you can use like a little stylus. You can put your palm on it. It's very intuitive, like you're actually drawing. And then it's like pressure based, so the harder you press, the darker the line can be. So it's like using a pencil or a pen and changing color. And then I, draw another few hundred fish. I started to get really good at it. Just from practice. For a second,
I thought I was wearing your shirt, your season 3 shirt, because I have the same color. Like, oh, that's not your shirt. That's your shirt.
I did get we got those shirts. Thank you, by the way, Corey. Those are nice shirts. Like they and the fit is pretty good. I was concerned because I usually wear tall sizes, but they're actually not bad.
They're so long. They're so long. I tucked this in underneath my hoodie today when I went to pick up the kids from school, and I was like, "Oh, this is amazing!" I bend over and it's not going to come untucked. Amazing.
You threw some easy green in there because I'm always.
Yeah, I know you go through some of it, so it's like,
God.
I always feel weird when I'm like just shipping a thing. I'm like, what else could I throw in the box? Because unfortunately, so much of what we ship, like the shipping is more than the product a lot of time. Like shipping has just gotten out of control, so it's like, throw some more stuff in there, make this better.
I can't believe, Corey, that you let 25-pound salt bags be shipped out for members. I have a 25-pound bag of salt from you that I guarantee you paid more in shipping than I paid for the salt, probably.
Yeah, we basically giving out no money on it.
Yeah, I felt so bad when I got it. I'm like, this is literally 25 pounds. Oh my God. How much did this cost to ship?
A lot. That's the answer, unfortunately.
Oh, man.
And then for those who are new, like you can guess the fish. There's also a theme to all the fish, so you get an extra point if you can guess what the overall theme of the fish are.
I'm gonna go big.
Okay. Yep. I see it in chat pretty quick.
That's what I was thinking, but then see, I'm a level of nerdy that's irritating. I am that armchair lawyer going, actually, is that actually a fish? Because I'm not sure if we classify that as a fish.
Yeah, the dorsal is way too far back. And where is its other pectoral?
Okay, but also we drew a sea bishop at some point. Do you know what a sea bishop is?
No.
Well, it's like this little man that's made of corn. Like, so you saw the intro to the stream
I've
was walking across.
Times, and I'm going, I wonder how this came about. So I'm about to hear the origin story.
That's a sea bishop, and I think the theme was either like chess pieces or royalty or something, and sometimes we throw in just like a wacky mythical weird thing, and that was one of them.
All right.
I don't remember like what the sea bishop is, like where it came from, but yeah, it's a thing. We've drawn 2 of them. We might even draw 1 more this year. I don't know.
I think it's related to the sea cucumber. I can't remember.
Well, one of those is real, and the other one looks like corn. See, so we got
I thought it was Johnny. Corn. Yeah.
It looks like a corn man.
It totally does. It is pretty corny too, so I'll leave.
Yeah, I also forgot to draw the other fin, but
that'll happen.
It happens. Let Jenna off the hook. She had a lot of like packing and planning to do. Well, I'll draw the fish or whatever they are. I'll draw the mammals, or sometimes it's just a Pokemon.
And you gotta get specific. You can't just say.
Yep.
Well, CPR fish, that's a little too specific. Cheryl, that's a little too.
Yeah, like Stingray's not going to cut it.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the first dot, I was like Matoro, and then it shaded, and I was like, Matoro, okay.
Yeah. Ooh.
I was kind of hoping you went with it and went like Hillstream Loach, just drawn badly, like you intentionally.
No, I like Hillstream Loaches, so I would hyper focus on that one, and I would spend an hour and a half and make it look good.
I see.
But I don't give a shit about these, like any of these. So it was really hard to
saltwater stingray.
Right.
I don't know the name of any of those.
God. Jenna might have to go look in chat and make sure I'm not like misassigning points. People are asking like who got it, and I've already forgotten. So see, I don't
Well, good thing we're
normally
recording. We can always go back and look.
Right. Yeah, I don't normally do this without my wife. You know,
I don't blame him.
she's part of it, and this is
Her
why.
planning skills, there's are none.
So I think, and I could be wrong, and points may be adjusted at a later time, but Nancy, Moose, and Big Steve got those first.
All points are subject to change.
Yeah, absolutely.
the fine print. All subject points are subject to change.
It's a good thing the points barely matter. And Big Steve. Okay.
Doing it without your wife is generally a bad idea. Doing it without your wife.
It's a blue spotted stingray, Zen. Pay attention.
Jeez.
God.
Jeez. God.
I know what I would guess, but I don't know what type it is.
I have to go look at my notes to remember. Okay, got it. And also, like, I don't know if anyone has said the theme yet. Hopefully, okay, that was quick. It's a clear nose skate. I'm just whoever says skate, it's fine.
I mean, how the heck did Big Steve get that?
I knew it was a skate right away.
I knew, yeah.
I
know no skates.
Yeah.
I love skates too because they look so. It's a stingray / shark. It's a shark tail with a stingray body.
Yep. These fish have something in common, or these animals have something in common.
Oh,
so Joe's
Johnny,
fish room.
I think Johnny got it.
What did Johnny say?
For the theme.
Yeah, what was his answer?
Cartilage shark, fish theme.
That's it. All right, Joe's fish room. Welcome to the scoreboard.
And hashtag send Johnny to the Clash.
Do not super chat me to send Johnny to the Clash.
Just give it to him when he's there. But Johnny helped me out over the weekend when I was ordering from Dan's, and I truly appreciate it. Thank you so much, Johnny.
So, Corey, how confirmed going to the Clash are you at this point, percentage-wise?
Pretty. Well, I'll say this: today I put it on my calendar. It doesn't there's a lot of stuff that can still happen, but I don't see why we wouldn't go. We're still firming up, probably are we doing talks? Or are we doing some kind of activity or whatever? And
who is we? Is that you and Zenzo?
Yeah, because they went after Zenzo first, and then I was like, well, if you're gonna go, maybe it makes sense for us to get out and do some events. And I was like, basically, if they'll fly me out and put me up and a first class flight, because I'm not willing to put a giant body and coach. So, and they were like, yeah, we could probably pull that off. And so now we'll start brainstorming. I mean, ooh, we could donate bags again. Should we put our food in it, or should we do something else? I have no idea. It all depends on how many people are going to show up. How many people do we think we can get there to show up as well? And what does the world look like in 9 months?
No,
right? Economic wise. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think the attendance is, I think in this maybe 500 to 600 all said and done. I mean, that includes vendors and everything. So any number above that,
way less than Aquashella and everything.
That's what I like about it. I mean, it really is a hangout. It is not. It's kind of an event in that it's coordinated and has a schedule, but it's a lot of just socializing, and that's the only reason I go.
It's a swap with all my friends, and
yes,
here in
exactly.
Detroit, there's a bunch of swaps all the time, but none of my friends are there. So you get to see all my friends at the Pennsylvania swap. But it looks like Crown Tail, Johnny, and Brenton. If it's Manta Ray.
Yep.
Is it Manta Ray?
It is Manta Ray. Cool. Yeah, like for the first time ever this year, me and Jenna went to a local event because we don't actually know too many local people around here because like our club doesn't do a lot of in-person stuff since COVID. But there was FOTUS and the IBC happening, the most horribly marketed event ever. The vendor room was split into like 3 different tiny rooms in this hotel that had no business hosting an event like this, but
Oh no.
you know, our friends Grant and Shelby were going to be there, so that's why we went. And that was literally the only thing we did was go and hang out with them.
They're awesome people.
Yep. All right, last one.
Ooh, this could be my favorite shark.
Okay. So I saw Geek sent a $5 super chat to send Johnny to the Clash, and now we've got send Candy to the Clash. I'm also not responsible for that at all.
Everybody always wants everybody from like I call it teams instead of companies. Like everyone's got a team and they want like they want to see the whole team and then realize like someone's got to stay at home base though. You can't send the whole team. Like if everybody from the team goes, you're like, wait, no one's shipping. We're not making any money. And so like when we do, let's say we go out to Peru or we do an event, we literally have to choose like who on the team can go that won't neuter our company. And so you have to make decisions on like, okay, these 2 or 3 people can go, the rest got to stay. Then we'll swap for the next event, and that kind of stuff. And so it can be hard, like especially I know what Dan would go through and what we go through is like you get too many people there on the team, and then it's a weekend event, and then they're super like jet lagged and flying home, and then you've got a couple days to like work back in, and pretty soon you've like you're out of work for like a week, and then you're playing a week of catch up. And it can be brutal. And then you still had all your family and all the stuff you neglected also. So
yeah, I can't imagine a scenario where Dan and Johnny both go to the Clash.
Yeah.
I think the company collapses or something. I don't know. Audra, thank you for gifting 10 memberships. Unfortunately, I'm all out of members. Yeah, none of them are going through, but they might go through tomorrow.
Yeah,
Crown Tail Half Moon. Yeah,
Crown Tail Half Moon.
YouTube decides.
I think you
they should be getting
right
some soon.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Corey,
if there's something for you to click Crown Tail to accept gifts, same with Skull.
I think it'll get you in. Yeah.
Try it.
Oh, Zenny's got it.
What?
Chimera.
Is it Chimera? It's not what I have. No. Hold on.
Pupfish?
I mean, also this was the last one I drew. You could see the decline in effort as I went through the drawings. I drew these in order.
Johnny already got the theme with Cartilage.
Yeah.
Theme.
Oh. Okay, I just did a search, and actually, SC Cat House was the only person who got it right. It's a spotted ratfish. I don't know what that is, but
I said pupfish, but I was wrong.
Jenna sent me the list to draw, and Nancy, are you cheating? I don't know what the delay is, but it just came through, and I want to think that Nancy's an honest person, but.
Saltwater fish. We may as well be like guessing like dung beetle species or something.
Yeah, I know. I
turn my brain off. Like that doesn't live in freshwater. It's dead to me.
Gina's Reef used to be able to attend these streams before she started working at Petco. Now she's got to work, and so she can't be here to answer all the salty stuff. Okay, Jenna's on the other end, and she can confirm that Nancy is on the up and up. Okay,
this just in. We'll allow it.
All right.
And aquatic boots.
We're watching you, Nancy.
Forgot to
wait.
Free ship. No, Boots is being coy, a coy boy.
Kyle saying, just saying, as far as value for membership, co-op and Steven have some of the best bang for your buck around. Well, yours, Corey, is your scales really well. Mine is becoming kind of a problem.
We all went through that though. So
mine's
like,
getting a
I
little
did the same
scary.
thing.
Yeah,
You do that like, oh yeah, some people like what I'm doing. This is cool. I'd like to get back. And then you reach that point, you're like, oh, this is an impossible task. This is going to blow up in my face and people are going to be angry. That's sad. And then you got to build back from that if you choose to. But everyone starts with the best intentions, because it's, just doing, it's like feeding your friend's animal or something. Like, yeah, you're going on vacation, I can do that. And then pretty soon, if you're doing it for like 8 people a year, though, all of a sudden you're like, you're taking 2 vacations. Like, I'm never at home. I'm always feeding other people's crap. So it just scales, and so few things scale that I've learned. That's basically what I've learned. And even mine, like, we don't scale nearly as well internationally as we do just, United States. So,
but those live streams, the talks, like, some people give nothing for memberships, and they tell you up front, like, you're just choosing to support me and you're not getting anything in return, and that's fine. So, like, really getting much of anything is great. The talks are pretty valuable for someone like me who doesn't really to go anywhere.
Yeah, I used to always go to every talk I could for many, many years. So I've seen so many talks. Like, oh, we just had Chuck Rambo. It's like I've seen him speak 6 times. It's like a lot. And I've seen a lot of talks from him, but I know I have a pretty good value of like what that value is. Like, okay, I'd have to drive there. That's like an hour. I'm there for 3 or 4 hours. It's an hour back, and all this. And it's like, wow, I can get all that for $5, and I can fit it into my schedule, or it doesn't fit in my schedule. So I watched it 4 days later easily on my schedule. Yeah.
Yep. And that's one thing about the Clash. Like, this year, there were so many talk. Like, there was basically always a talk going on, and you either are going to go attend all the talks or you're going to do literally anything else, because it was all day. And I went to 2 of them. And that was about all I could muster. And there were several more that I wanted to go through. Like, there's one about fish photography, and I don't know if I can find that talk online or if I'll ever see that guy again.
Yeah, it was Mo Devlin, right? He's one of the best it's ever been. Like, Chris Lukup's amazing, but I knew of Mo Devlin from way back on Monster Fish Keeper days. And so, because I was looking at the Clash website today, and I was like, ooh, that's I'd like to meet Mo Devlin. Just be like, your photography's amazing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I have a phone, and that's my fish photography, and I would love to learn more about it. Like, I've told myself, like, one day I will buy the big boy camera, but I will not until I know exactly what my limitations are with the phone camera. And I still am not there yet. Like, messing around.
As a guy that has all the equipment, just stay with the cell phone. Like, the difference between an amazing picture without a cell phone is the 2 hours. So if you're not willing to, like Chris Lukup, I've filmed with him before, shot with him before. And the difference is, like, were you willing to spend 7 hours to get one picture? And like, no, he gets a lot of amazing images, but the ones that like blow your mind, it's like, and I learned real quick, like, oh, I don't have 7 hours to give up to get a picture. Like, I got 7 great pictures in 2 days of shooting. The difference, like, I can also basically pull that off with a cell phone. Now, that's discrediting to what he can do, but for what I need, of like, hey guys, look what I did. Look at this fish, it's really cool. Cell phone is great for that. And when you get to high-end equipment, like, it's better than that. But I literally might have $30,000 worth of cameras, and it's like, yeah, except the time doesn't exist. The time does not exist in most people's lives to get the shots that we're drooling over.
Yeah, Chris, I absolutely am obsessed with his cinematography. The way his videos are set up, it draws me into where, like, you see places like, oh, that's such a cool place to visit. You see the way that he frames it. I don't know what kind of lens he's using, but it's just like, it's almost like a 3D wraparound, where when he's swimming through the in Southeast Asia for shrimp, and just these beautiful plants, or in Florida. Oh, I can't get enough of it.
And so here's a guy in chat who knows his cameras and photography. I know, Corey, I think you've seen at least one video by him. His cinematography, like, he's got the big boy equipment and knows how to use it.
And most camera nerds would be like, "Oh, there is a huge difference," and there is a huge difference. But I can
if you
guarantee
know how to, yeah.
Like I could open it up to my wife, be like, "You can use any of the equipment," and then it's still going to be like, "Cool," except I needed 3 years of practice and unlimited time to produce the results. Usually it's
Yeah.
not the equipment holding the people back; it's the time. You spend 10 hours a week actually taking photos and editing them, and do that for a year, then go spend $5,000, and you'll be like, "Wow, I'm really good at this now." Turns out you got bored in week 3 though, because you're like, "Yeah, I've kind of shot the things that are around me. Now I got to go places to shoot," and then like, "Oh, their lighting was terrible," and that's the thing is, no matter how good your equipment is, it's like, "Oh, the glass wasn't clean at that place. Oh, they didn't have lighting at that place. Oh, the fish just would not show itself off for me."
Everything's got
And
to line
like
up.
Chris Lukup's process is like a week long. He's like, "Oh yeah, you separate out the fish, you start cleaning the water in the tank, and like the tank he shoots in is like this big, and a lot of chopsticks are involved, and the right kind of plants are involved, and there's a lot that goes into it, and it's kind of just, and then at the end you're like, sweet, so you have an image worth $25 now, like that. You worked at $1 an hour for that, which is super cool, but at the same time, it's like it's annoying when you're like, I want to take a picture of the thing I enjoy.
Have you seen these tanks?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
got from Wildfish Tanks is where I got mine.
Yep. They work well, but so the problem, and so what Chris would tell you is like, there's taking a picture and then there's taking a picture. And so for him, it's very important. Like he doesn't like when you see a fish on a black background.
Oh,
That's
really?
too easy, and that just,
It's not natural.
you got to capture it. Like, oh, where's the live plants? Where's the focus? Where's the depth to the picture? So instead of snapping it in space, where is it? Like that tank's only this wide. Like where proportionally, where is it in? And how much bokeh? He's got specific plants that he likes to shoot against because it's the correct amount of bokeh versus the fish and looks correct. And that's why, and that's the difference between why everyone goes, that picture looks insane. It's most times everything around that fish. The fish is going to look good for anybody because it's an amazing fish, but it's the whole composition. It's that whole like, oh, you really got to know art and not just the rule of thirds. Like you really got to have the eye to produce these images that'll blow your mind.
Plus, once you get that fish in that little photography tank, you've got a window of time before like the stress colors start to show, like they start to really fade out and they don't look true to color.
Yeah, so he'll put it in and then he won't start filming until the next day because you want it to like your goal is to get the best picture of this fish possible. And so it's not going, well, let me put you in a net into another thing and start shooting you. It's no, you got to get it to be really, really, and there's, he's got all kinds of tricks. And, one that blew my mind was the use of like 2 or 3 mirrors to light up the underside of a snail. So that when you're shooting it, you can get because so much of a snail is its face and the colors and everything. But if you try to reflect it through the glass, you just get, if you try to use a flash on the front side to get that or underneath, you see the flash. And so you have to reflect the light into it from the underneath without creating something on the front of the glass while properly lighting everything else. And so like the tricks that it's just like, you can clearly see like, wow, how many years of your life did it take to perfect that? Like it's been a work in progress for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, meanwhile, I'm trying to catch something that I just noticed my fish doing. And then I'm like, oh crap, I haven't scraped the glass in a week. So now it's going to be like a blurry biofilm.
Yep. And that's why the cell phone is perfect. Like rock the cell phone. It's
quick. Yeah.
And I, even with my cameras that I video with, I'm finding the iPhone outperforms it because they basically program it for an idiot like me of like auto compensate, don't let it blow out. It's like, oh, the fish swam towards the light and it blew out on the expensive camera because the exposure wasn't correct. For iPhone, they spend so much on software. It's like, oh, we're just going to auto fix that for you before it's even a problem.
So our giveaway this week is some What the Fish ornaments that Jenna, these are some of the better drawings that we've done in ornament form. And you get the full set of 5. And
hashtag suck less.
Hashtag suck less sounds fine to me. Hopefully Google Mod doesn't pick that up.
You're banned
Let me do it.
instantly.
I mean, like people talk about getting demonetized for saying certain things. I mean, I don't usually censor. Like I'm not like super vulgar all night on the stream, but I don't really censor myself. And the only time I ever get copyright issues or any kind of demonetization is when we play like 7 seconds of a song.
Yeah. There's a lot of rules. Like the rules are, they classify like the F word and some other words higher than other ones. And then it's how many times it's said within the first 30 seconds that
Right.
you could say like the F word once in the first 30 seconds and maybe keep it. But if you don't, you could say it 72 times in the next 2 hours and they don't care. Like they just care about that front loaded, because they basically want the user to come in and kind of get an experience of like, hey, what's going on here? Instead of just like, oh gosh, that's a lot all at once. I clicked on the wrong thing on accident. Kind of let you into like, okay, this could be a little dicey in here before you just start getting the onslaught. And so they basically just really care like, what is the expectation and are you delivering that expectation? As long as people aren't going, I didn't expect that, usually you don't get called out for it.
Usually.
And it only happens now I'm trying to get partnership. Like, I mean, I guess if I had like sponsors that didn't want me to sit, and that's why I don't do sponsors. Like that allows me to talk about a product I like or don't like and not have to worry about other people.
When it comes to like swearing, I do swear in real life some, but it's not for the sponsors why I wouldn't swear. It's mostly the people that say, thank you for not swearing so I can listen on the second screen while I'm at work, like in a cubicle or something like that. And that actually means way more to me than the sponsorship money or anything like that, of like, or you want it on your TV and you've got kids in the house, like all of that matters more to me. And to me, I could come up with some kind of clever swear word-esque thing instead of an actual swear word if I needed to. And so yeah, that's it. Just so happens I learned early on, like if I just don't swear, that's YouTube likes that, and some of my people like that, like I'll just get my point across without doing that.
Yeah, kid friendly too. I mean, broader appeal. People, beginners getting into the hobby, they don't want to be able to. They don't want to say, I can't watch Aquarium Co-op and get advice because he says bad words. Parents won't let me watch it.
Yeah, I think it's just the less I've been convinced for a very long time that YouTube is the person wins who makes the least amount of mistakes, and alienating small portions of audience, even if it's 1%, it's like, well, if you stacked up 10 or 15 of those, you're already at a 10 or 15% deficit compared to someone else they might watch. And so don't go out of your way to give reasons for people not to watch, basically.
Yeah.
There's already big enough reasons, like my content's not that exciting, not that good, like I'm not giving away a Ferrari. So there's already stuff, like don't add to it, basically.
Yeah. I'm too ADHD to like remember to not say something. So I just kind of go with, I'm going to say whatever. I'm not monetarily tied to it. And if I have to like start censoring myself, but then also make the mistake and then beat myself over the mistake, then it's not fun. And then when it's not fun, I don't know why I'm doing it.
Yeah, I think that's
my goal with YouTube is way different, I think, than some other people.
Yeah, no, I think the same thing. There's a lot of words that I have come like, I want to work that in my vocabulary. It's not even so much like, oh, I don't want to swear. I'm just like, I like that, and so I go out of my way to try and do a little bit of it. But no, I try to be as true as I can without putting us out of business.
Yeah.
You rarely get mad on streams, and one of my favorite times is when you were first setting up the 800 and it was behind you at like an angle and it was dry still, and just everyone would be like, what are you going to put in the 800? What are you going to put in the 800? What are you going to put in the 800? And you just, one time somebody said that and you went, hamsters. So now you like read off half a question and kind of giggled to yourself and just kept going, and I'm just like, oh, so that's Corey Bad.
You can't put hamsters in there, you animal abuser.
Hamsters. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I was cracking up several weeks ago. You told someone on the stream who was in chat, just like trying to basically oppose everything you were saying. You were like, you seem like a guy who wouldn't be all that fun to hang out with.
Yeah. Because there's those people. That's the crazy part I have. That's the biggest problem I have is, let's say 50% or 20%, pick a number of these people I would never want to stand next to in real life. And yet, as a public facing figure, you have to be like, oh, we accept everybody. But the reality is, like, if you were at a swap or something, you'd be like, let's go over here. Like, and you could just be a saltwater guy and I don't want to stand next to you. Like, I don't care about saltwater. Like, that's just nothing against you. I just don't care about saltwater. But then there's always the people, the 1 out of 100 people that are, this antagonist. Like, they don't even have a position. They're just like, what are you talking about? I'm the opposite of that. Like, I just like making other people's lives hard. And that's just irritating when you're like, I give up my Sunday to try and help people. Yeah, I got to sell some crap, but I'm mostly here to help people. And you're just eating up a disproportionate amount of time, wasting other people's time. Yeah. I get paid for this time. The hundreds of other people here are here by choice. So quit ruining it for them.
Yeah. Where there was one time where I think you were discussing illness or something, like right at the beginning of the stream. And somebody had written like, is he done selling yet? Can we get to the Q&A? It's like, first off, he's educating. Second off, if you don't like it, turn your phone off for 45 minutes and come back. Like, you don't have to bitch. We don't need your opinion. But it's America.
Other streams too.
Your opinion, go ahead. Now you seem like an a-hole.
Well, Gina's off work.
Yay!
Yep. I'm destroying the saltwater hobby one day at a time. I've been plugging saltwater more than like anything lately, only because I'm super excited to see if Ryan's Serious Reefer channel works or just nosedives harder than I've ever seen, because it's such a unique business model. So I'm watching. I'm literally watching every video he puts out just to study this like social experiment that I'm about to witness, either greatness or horribleness, one of the two.
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Yeah, I'm rooting for him though, because if it works, it's I think it's really good for creators if it works, like truly fan supported.
Now, Corey, you have to pick two names off the wheel. Someone you think is going to be first eliminated, and someone you think is going to win.
I see. All right. I will pick. So here's my pick.
Okay.
I think Dorcula's gonna win because that'll be super awkward. It'd be like, of course his wife would win.
Convenient.
Rigged.
Yeah, exactly. And then the first person to be eliminated, I think will be. I think it'll be Anna Banana, because didn't she win last week or the week before?
I think 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
She beat me. Oh my God, my heart was pounding. Oh.
Yeah, so for those who are new to the wheel, this is the wheel of you lose. So if it lands on your name, that's a bad thing. You're off the wheel.
Yeah.
Which
go ahead.
As the wheel grows, it's going to be like, I can't imagine Dan, who gets like 300 entries, like doing this kind of.
I want to do a comically large one that literally just takes like an hour and a half of like, you're eliminated. But make it a big enough prize where people are just like,
they stick around. Like, I got to be around to win.
Yeah.
Didn't Fishfam link? Didn't that happen to them where the wheel was so big it couldn't spin, or it didn't spin at all? It was just frozen. Then all of a sudden the name popped up.
That has happened on Grant and Shelby's stream, because they get a lot of people when they're doing those milestone giveaways.
Yeah.
And the wheel just kind of went.
I'm grabbing my 3D print. Keep going.
All right. Well, 53 entries. I think we're gonna go ahead and spin.
Do it now. So Anna Banana off first, Dorcula winning.
It's Cat House.
Cat House, no.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. I got to do the music.
Crown Tail. What'd you print?
The community project we've been working on over on our forum to make a water polisher for stores and fish rooms and hobbyists too.
Sorry, that was a loud song. Say it again.
We can't hear.
I don't get the sound in this, so
we can't hear the music.
What?
We can't hear the music.
Maybe on the stream, but it's not in StreamYard, maybe.
No, I bet they can't.
Yeah,
I bet they can't hear it. Sometimes it does that. I don't care.
I'm
just gonna keep spinning.
Anyway,
right now. We'll do it live.
It's a filter sock polisher, which this is all 3D printed except for this filter sock to polish water for maybe a fish store, your fish room, your house. Where'd the other part go that I was? Oh yeah, right here. And then this sits like this, and we hook the Aquarium Co-op power head to it. And what's unique about this, you can get this down to where it'll scrub out green water and ick cysts. So it will literally, you can scrub water clean with like a 1 or 5 micron sock. You could also just polish water while you're going to do your photography, but this doesn't exist, and I don't think it's commercially viable, but 3D printing seems totally viable.
I'm going to have to get me one of those, huh? So many
A
little
3D printer or
toys.
just-
Yeah, it's a 3D printer, yeah. Like, I'm mulling over, do I want to get a par meter? I think I'd get bored with that after like
You
testing
would.
all
You're
my
dumb.
tanks.
Yep.
Yeah. I borrowed one for a while and I sent it back before I really had time to really mess around with it. But yeah, I feel like the one thing I would use incessantly for a couple of weeks and then put it in a box.
Dude, my library, you could rent a par meter for my library. It's insane.
Is it waterproof though?
I don't know. I was just looking through the log because I was there with my kids. Like what you can rent. You know, you can rent movies, you can rent power tools, you can rent a whole bunch of other cool stuff from our library. And it said a par meter. I'm like, oh my God. Watch me stick it in the water and break it. It was already like that.
There's also ones that are calibrated purely for underwater, which are rare, but it creates about a 5 to 10% difference.
Yeah, the one you have is like the Apogee is like the $500 one.
Yeah, and it's the one calibrated for underwater.
Mm-hmm.
So where most are just calibrated for anything.
Just no.
Yeah, I think a 3D printer would probably be a more fun purchase.
I basically tell everybody I know it's the biggest impact in my life since moving from a flip phone to a smartphone, which I don't say that lightly. Not that much stuff. It's like, I am printing stuff all day long. I'm like, that's going to be amazing for our closet and this thing and work stuff. Like I've been printing nipples like a madman from our manufacturer.
I'm sorry. One more time.
He's been printing nipples, Eric. Can't get enough nipples.
I've been printing different versions of nipples because for whatever reason, people are having a hard time keeping their airline tubing on air pumps. And so I've taken it upon myself to try and solve this. And so they keep sending different files so that we can 3D print them and I can test them so we can make our air pumps better. And before it would take like each one of these would be like, oh, that's $70 in 2 weeks to get it to you. And then I'd put it in and be like, not that one. That sucked. All right, do it again. And now
yeah, that's got to be a game changer.
The turnaround time is 24 hours typically now. So it's like each day, the next version with my changes. And so it's going much faster, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Ben Pete.
And just you were showing one of I think it was just a coupler or something like or a reducer that you printed.
Yeah.
And I have spent like 2 hours walking around a hardware store trying to find the right reducer. And that to me was like, I don't have to leave the house or like walk around a hardware store or like have employees ask me, why are you walking around the store for so damn long or digging through all of our plumbing stuff.
It saves me from turning into Ron Swanson where
I know
can I help you?
I know more than you.
I was educating the guy like last week on buckets. I was like, your website is incorrect. It says it's in aisle 8, bay 15. I am here. It is not here. Where are they? You've put a stupid Christmas display here. It's like, oh, we moved that over to here. I should probably tell someone to update that on the website. I'm like, yeah, you think?
Kirk and Candy off the wheel back to back.
Ooh. The guy was super cool, but even he was like, yeah, corporate legs behind. Got these stupid Christmas things.
Yep. Then again, I could also just like buy another.
Candy's comment. He's making me want a 3D printer, but not for nipples.
You never know when you need some nipples. I don't have the problem with the airline coming off.
I don't either. I can't even replicate the problem.
Like, how much air do you have to push through, and how clogged does the air stone need to be?
I don't know, but they say it happens to ours and others, and they'll be using our tubing, won't be using our tubing. There's people that like it's breaking free from super glue. I'm like, what is going on? I'm convinced it's got to be like an environmental thing I can't replicate. Like maybe you're in Arizona, your water or your air is crazy dry, or there's got to be something that I can't replicate here because I can't get it to happen to me. And that makes it impossible for me to solve. When it's like I can't figure out how you're breaking it, I can't figure out how to make it so you don't break it.
So how do you make a strong nipple?
What goes into a strong nipple? Yeah.
So I can lead you through this. So my first thing. So
describe the nipples in detail.
The standard one is about 6 millimeters long, and so I thought let's put some barbs on it because typically a fitting with barbs like that's harder to pull off, but it's also harder to get on, and so I don't think the user is actually going to get it on further, and so it actually made it worse, I think. So then I make just physically make it longer so that you could put it on more. The problem is I'm not even replicating the correct problem because pulling it off would be different than building enough of pressure. It might balloon and then let go.
Yeah, and it's like the opposite. Like it balloons.
Yeah, and so then I'm like, well, how do I like make that happen? And then there's also a little bit of texture to 3D printing compared to perfectly smooth production models. And so I'm convinced I'm going to solve about 60% of people's problems with a longer nipple. And then in the next version, 5 years
old, I'm sorry,
we will solve the other 40%. Like, did that fix it for you guys? If not, we'll try another thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't even had the air collar clogging problem yet.
Oh, I have, but it's such a simple fix. It's insane.
What I find, honestly, is if you have a clean tank and you run the air collar, it so rarely clogs. If you have a tank that had a lot of mold and now you hot rod that sponge filter, it kicks up all the mold and it constantly is clogging. And then people are like, yeah, ran it for a minute, clogged. I'm like, yeah, it was really dirty. So then you cleaned it and then it did it again. Like it's kind of like when we bought a Dyson vacuum and you run it and you're like, oh my gosh, this thing's clogging so clean.
The first time.
That shows me how bad it was. So, but that concept isn't being translated very well to people buying this. Like, it sucks. It clogs up so well. It's like you're literally complaining about a vacuum that is sucking up all the stuff. Like that should be a 5-star review, not a 1-star review.
How dare you help me clean my tanks?
Yeah. But once you get to the point where you've we cleaned it every week for 6 weeks in a row, it's like, oh, it'll run a long time then. So, yeah.
Well, I guess my tanks are just too damn clean.
How dare you?
So,
nothing worse than that.
Well, I do weekly water changes even on tanks that don't need them because I just have this routine where I do pretty large water changes too, and then if something happens, like this weekend, for example, Jenna's out of town. Lillian's got a band audition, like all district or something like that tomorrow morning. And then the kids want to go to an arcade and there's other stuff going on. I may not do any water changes this weekend, and I'm okay with that because I did a 50% water change a week ago. So it just it lets life happen without me being anxious about it.
Mm-hmm. How often do you do? So I've been doing every month. What I'll do is I'll drain half my water. I'll fill my tank back up, and then I'll turn the pump on because I have a power head attached to my hose. I'll turn the pump on again while the water is filling up. So that way, because I think Corey covered this in his live stream the other day, where if you just keep doing 50% water changes, if you have 10%, if you have 10 nitrates, you change 50% of your water, then you have 5 nitrates. But then a week from then, you have 15 nitrates. So if you change half your water, you're at 7.5, and it's just going to be going up and up. And I didn't realize that until I got a TDS meter, which I think that's probably the only reason why you would ever have a TDS. Just my water, it was 900. It was 100 out of the tap. My tank water was 900. Now it does measure inorganic and organic solids. So whatchamacallit. But now once a month, I'll try to do that where I change 50%, fill it back up, change it 50% with the water running. and try to get my TDS down below 200. And my fish have been loving it.
900 of what though? Jesus.
I
Like,
know.
It's actually beard hairs, dissolved beard hairs.
Well, here's the thing too, is like the way TDS meters work is they are measuring conductivity, and the ppm that they give you is, most of them are using a conversion standard. They're just dividing the microsiemens by 2, like it's, or times 0.5. And that is calibrated for salt water. So it's measuring conductivity and assuming that it's all salt. And that's the ppm it gives you, which is not related to the conductivity of calcium ions, or magnesium ions are less conductive than calcium ions, even though they both contribute the same amount to GH, because like magnesium ions are more bound by the hydro shell of water molecules. They don't move as fast. And so you have no idea what the hell you're measuring in your water, or no correlation at all to like even the fact that there's stuff in your water is not even the same amount of stuff that the TDS meter is telling you. Like, they're the worst. They're good for ensuring that your RO system is still working, and that's pretty much it.
Microsemen because nano semen is trademarked.
There goes Dorkula.
No.
Ooh, close.
She got down to like the final 15, 10.
And there goes Anna Banana.
Back to back.
By the way, the whole nano / food thing, it does stem from other companies sending cease and desist letters to that company over things like, I want to say it was like bottom wafer or something. Like,
it just gets into their legal team based on the
Yeah, it gets into one of those like, oh, we don't want to lose a word, so then this happens, and it's meanwhile like, this is getting real, of the problems to solve in the hobby. That's not where I'm focused. Naming's not one. It's like, how about just a different or better food or any other product? But at the same time, someone will end up trademarking our own stuff, and I'll use my marketing team, aka me, and I'll change the name, and it'll be fine. Someone trademarks Aquarium Co-op, then I think we actually have that trademark now. But
what about Easy? Is that trademarked yet?
We have a few things that have been in the works, and I don't even put it on the package or anything, because I honestly just don't care. I just honestly just don't care. Like, it actually, from a marketing standpoint, it's actually better if someone takes something from us. So, like, if I had renamed our food instead of small fish to stale pizza, everyone goes, why'd you name it Magic Stale Pizza? And then I tell the story, and they go, yeah, I want to support you. That sounds like not a fun time. And so it's actually a better marketing tactic. But I still think it takes the whole, like, it just, I don't know. What do I want to say? I want to say that why doesn't every human focus their energy on, like, let's just work on new things that are better and focus there, as opposed to protecting what's already been done. Like, I don't know. It sounds weird when I say it that way, because I'm not sure how to put it into words, but of the energies to be spent, it seems like there's different.
Yeah, expanding versus gatekeeping. I mean,
yeah.
There goes Ed. Hi, Ed. Bye, Ed.
Final four.
All right, so final four: Stan Pittman, Branton Lightcap, Coral Works, and Linda Worth.
Well, he wasn't paying.
Boom.
Branton, you did that to yourself. That was you.
Jinxed it, Branton.
Yeah.
If I win, I'll show my nipples.
And there goes Coro.
Let me work.
Who's it going to be? I know where both of these people live.
Linda!
I have their address already. Congrats, Linda. You win some ornaments, and unless you moved recently, I got your address, so we'll get those out to you. In fact, Jenna already packaged them up and put the stickers in there, and all I got to do is print your label. Like, she actually wrote me this little document of like how to survive while she's not here. like
Did you remember to
feeding the kids. I had to. I remember to eat because I had to cook for the children. Like if I was by myself, everything would just go to shit. But
Gotcha.
I have kids to take care of, and I got to go and feed her mom's cat and her fish too. And so I just I have all these instructions and schedules, and just to make sure that my weekend doesn't fall apart. Oh, so wow. Yeah, we've been at this for 2 hours and 19 minutes. Corey, I really appreciate you joining us. That was a treat that I was not expecting, and was super fun.
Well, I knew I had to come out and check my 3D print in 2 hours, and I was like, I could just be out there the whole time.
There you go.
That was literally half of my thing, because I've been waiting all week to get to a point where I could test this tonight. So
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, glad we could keep you company while you babysit the printer.
Yeah. Otherwise, I would have watched some TV and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I felt there was an opportunity here.
There we go. All right. Well, yeah, I think Elfish. Sorry, David. He's been live for a while. Everyone head over to Elfish Tanks and see what they got going on, and I'll see y'all in the chat there in a little bit. Thanks, everybody. See y'all next week on Wet Your Plants, 4 Central, Monday. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.